team of 6. I mean, Medicham is the only direct counter to Lickitung, and even that matchup can get a bit dicey. But just like you called out as well, game number 1, we saw the Lickitungs kind of throwing their body weight around. King Alexander was in the lead, but that's because he connected with the Avalanche before the swap. This time, the Psychic kind of gives him that boost. This is kind of like a, tag in, tag out situation where the Medicham said, all right, Lickitung, you can take over, go ahead and maintain switch advantage for us and try to get us this victory.
Right, and Nighttime Clasher keeping that Shadow Venusaur in the back, perhaps hoping that King Alexander has the Lantern back there to try, I think that was maybe a prediction, but I'm not really sure where that Venusaur is going to go now.
Yeah, that's a great point, right? But we do see that Nighttime Clasher is still holding that Protect Shield advantage. Power Whip, a little bit surprising there, does knock out that Lickitung a little bit sooner than Nighttime Clasher would have hoped. Now he's going to bring in his Venusaur, and this Lickitung is so bulky. You cannot Vine Whip it down. And instead of shielding a Body Slam, actually goes for the Frenzy Plant. This is an aggressive play. I like this play a lot, but now the Venusaur has no energy walking into this next matchup.
And there is a fully healthy Frostlass. We saw earlier how those Powder Snows chip away at the Venusaur, and we're going to see it again. We do have, as you noted, Speedy, a shield advantage, but I don't know if Frostlass even needs to throw a charge move here.
Yeah.
Just the fast move pressure looks like it might be enough.
Oh, the question is, right, it's 6, 6, and 5 for the Frenzy Plant, so can you afford to get to that next Frenzy Plant? Here comes the Medicham, it's got no energy, Lantern's got the Surf, deciding not to throw it. This is the reason, though, he wants to bring in the Venusaur, get some Vine Whip energy. I really like this play by Nighttime Clasher. You're going to show up the Ice Punch, you're going to try to outpace the Frostlass. I think he just created a win condition for himself.
It's still going to be really close, Speedy. That Venusaur is incredibly low on health. Can it knock out? We have the last shield going into play. Will a Shadow Frenzy Plant knock out the Frostlass from here? That is what Nighttime Clasher is hoping is going to happen. We're at the Frenzy Plant. I believe that the Venusaur has so much attack power. It's got it. And Frostlass goes down. Nighttime Clasher tying up the series 1-1.
That's a huge knockout by Nighttime Clasher to keep himself in this series. I think everyone at home should be taking notes as well. He created a win condition. He took it out of thin air. You might have said, why is he not throwing the Surf on the Lantern? He could just do that, because then you actually allow the Frostlass to come in, Powder Snow down, and give your opponent the leverage. So really, really nice play there by Nighttime Clasher, recognizing his only win condition. King Alexander was powerless to stop it.
Yeah, this looked over for Nighttime Clasher. It looked like there was not a single win condition left. However, made some very careful calculations here, decided, so we're playing a lot of this end game, we can really look it back over. So we have the Frostlass in, we use that final Protect Shield to protect the Venusaur, because that's the only thing that's going to be able to knock out the Frostlass at this point.
Yeah.
And here, with that extra energy that it gained off the Medicham, is able to throw the Frenzy Plant and knock the Frostlass out.
Very impressed with Nighttime Clasher's game management, especially in the latter moments, right? He's not panicking. He's kind of thinking things through, trying to find his own opportunity to succeed. He did a great job at that. Heading into game 3, though, DeFi, we saw Nighttime Clasher really kind of fall victim to the Medicham versus his Alolan Sandslash in game 1. Game 2, he went a lot more neutral, tried to minimize the Frostlass. In game 3, I don't think he brings Shadow Dragonite. I don't think he even touches that Pokemon because he's seen Frostlass so much. But do you think he makes any other adjustments?
I'm not so sure. I think that Venusaur has just been so solid. He's able to really leverage it. That Pokemon, I would say, has a pretty high skill ceiling, as well as the Shadow Dragonite. They're both tough Pokemon to play, so it takes a skilled trainer to be able to leverage those Pokemon correctly. So I think Nighttime Clasher really sticks with that Venusaur. It's been really, really good. King Alexander has been sticking with the same 3 Pokemon each time: Frostlass, Medicham, Lickitung. We'll have to see if he continues to use that formula. Sometimes that's what we see from trainers. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Maybe King Alexander felt he just let it slip a little bit away through his fingers. Yeah. We'll have to see here. We have Medicham Gligar in the back for King Alexander this time.
Maybe anticipating a Frostlass. We see actually a safe swap Medicham. This lineup from Nighttime Clasher, 2 Pokemon in the back. Venusaur and Medicham lose to Frostlass in most shield scenarios. So this switch out is in order to bring out the Frostlass, and it doesn't come. He's going to go ahead and land that Ice Punch there. We do know he's running Dynamic Punch on his Medicham. Psychic will connect. King Alexander doing this kind of tag in, tag out strategy in all 3 games, landing a charge attack and probably looking for the switch out. Will he reach for the Gligar? Not yet.
No, I think perhaps saving it, maybe thinking that Shadow Venusaur is in the back, wanting to use that fast move pressure, the aerial ace, the wing attack, to be able to neutralize the Venusaur, having a different plan rather than the Frostlass.
That's a really great call out. We're going to see Medicham reach for Dynamic Punch, same type attack bonus, even though it's resisted, it is a higher energy attack, and it does connect. Not quite enough to knock out, but this Medicham is really close in terms of HP. I think King Alexander will barely get the edge, but Nighttime Clasher with a clutch Ice Punch.
I don't see the health bar even at all on Nighttime Clasher's Medicham. Actually choosing to shield. King Alexander wanting to maintain that switch advantage. Had to give up a shield. Doesn't want to give up both shield and switch. And now we see the Lickitung. This is the 3rd time this morning we have seen a Lickitung mirror, Speedy.
You called it out, though, banking the Ice Punch. I think that King Alexander knows there's a Shadow Venusaur in the back. He's got the Ice Punch on the Medicham. He's got a Gligar ready. The only thing he doesn't have in his court is shield advantage. Nighttime Clasher able to wrestle that away early on in this matchup, just like game number 2. I think that will come into play later.
Yep, I'm trying to take a look at a little bit in the back. So King Alexander has that Ice Punch. At the very minimum, he can use that Medicham as another shield. Yep. We also have the Gligar looking very good and strong in the back against the Venusaur, being able to apply a lot of fast move pressure, especially with King Alexander having 2 shields. Venusaur, Frenzy Plant, still does a lot of its neutral damage, but it is a powerful charge move. So Venusaur could potentially work its way through the Gligar, but with shields, that's going to be really tough.
Yeah, it's neutral damage, but you wouldn't believe it looking at how much it does to a Gligar. It looks like King Alexander's Lickitung was able to win the charge attack priority event against the opposing Lickitung that this best buddy Lickitungs on both sides, I believe, are just throwing down. That being said, Nighttime Clasher has a choice to make. Does he allow this Body Slam to connect? I think he does. I think he wants to go ahead and farm up energy. Oh, actually, throwing the Body Slam first. King Alexander wants the energy. I anticipate an immediate switch out from Nighttime Clasher after this KO.
All right, there's the KO, and there it is. We see the Venusaur coming out, and then here is the Gligar to meet it. We are seeing how quickly those wing attacks are going to chip down here, and then using that first shield on the side of Nighttime Clasher. This is going to be pretty close, Speedy.
Well, here's the game, right? If you can get to 2 aerial aces and then switch in the Medicham for the Ice Punch, this is a very clutch play by King Alexander to try to strip away that final shield. Nighttime Clasher is in trouble here.
Yes, the Gligar looks so strong, needs to be able to get to the aerial ace, but the Venusaur's at 2 Frenzy Plants.
Not quite.
Not quite. It's 1 Vine What short.
Yeah, it's just barely not there, and that half second is going to make the entire difference here because the Gligar uses the Protect Shield. Here comes the aerial ace. This is super effective, same type attack bonus. This is definitely going to KO the Venusaur.
It most certainly, and then the Lickitung just doesn't have enough gas in the tank to be able to get to that Body Slam. The Gligar just not taking any chances, going to knock it out, and King Alexander moves on in day 2. But this is the winner's side of the bracket. Nighttime Clasher still has a chance to move on from the loser's side.
Very, very tough matchup there. The switch out into the Gligar, right? We saw Frostlass in games 1 and 2. The switch into the Gligar was such a big brain move, right? Banking the Ice Punch as well. We talked about that. King Alexander made a hard read. He knew Venusaur was going to be in the back. You save that Ice Punch for a rainy day, bring it in, take away that final Protect Shield, and clear the runway for Gligar to take off.
But that was such a close game. I wasn't ready to write it off for Nighttime Clasher just yet. That Venusaur, you just said it was a half of a second away from being able to pull back-to-back Frenzy Plants.
Exactly, and we see King Alexander switching in his Medicham, firing off the Ice Punch here against the Shadow Venusaur. This definitely would do about 60 or 70% damage, so you need to Protect Shield that up. And this is actually, I believe, game 1, where he was able to Protect Shield up the Avalanche and get the better of the Frostlass. But yeah, this was a really fun series to watch.
Incredible. Just again, I mentioned it earlier, but high skill ceiling Pokemon. Pokemon like Frostlass, Shadow Venusaur. It takes a very talented trainer to be able to deploy and utilize these Pokemon correctly to the best of their ability.
And if you look at King Alexander's team, like we pointed out, he doesn't have a Steel-type Pokemon on his team. He doesn't have a Fairy-type Pokemon on his team. Nothing on his team of 6 resists Dragon Breath. But what he did in the first 2 games, bringing Ice Punch, Medicham, and Frostlass, was he sent a message to the Nighttime Clasher. He said, you are not bringing Dragonite into this matchup. I am not going to let it fly. And then in Game 3, when Dragonite would have been great, it doesn't even show up.
Right, King Alexander, it's the mind games.
Yes.
It's really just setting the board, setting the field of play in your favor, kind of getting in your opponent's head. That was an incredible series to watch. 3 games. We love to see it. We love when these trainers are able to give us 3 games each and every time. I would love that. But King Alexander moving on in the winner's side of the bracket. However, Nighttime Clasher can still make a run for it. This is, again, is his 4th top cut in a row, really looking for a spot in that grand finals.
Yeah, they say in terms of mastery, right, you can get to about 85-90% mastery, but getting that final 10 to 15% is so difficult, right? We saw Wadaj struggle with that last year as well, getting to the top 8 multiple times, but unable to break through in day 2. I think that's exactly what Nighttime Clasher is looking to do. Going to continue to fight his way through the losers bracket, like you pointed out, but King Alexander also very, very impressive. I think a lot more is going on under the surface than we initially thought, right? Making the call on the Venusaur, kind of piloting this matchup and forcing his opponent not to bring Pokemon he didn't want to see. He's a very talented player himself.
100%. That was incredible to watch, and we still have, that's just the start. That was our opening matchup for day 2, and we have so much more to come up. We have our next trainers also kind of getting ready on the battlefield. We'll be getting to them very shortly.
We will, but in the meantime, let's go ahead and take a look at what you are saying on social media. Going to share some posts here. This is from Pokemon Crossroads. Some cosplay spotted at Peoria Regionals. These regionals are so much fun. You can come in, you can spectate, you can play, you can visit our vendors, you can cosplay. There's so many different ways to enjoy these competitions.
Yeah, that is the professor from Scarlet and Violet. Very, very fun cosplay. We also have Girl Power TCG, Girl Power in Peoria. We love to see these inclusive groups really helping to promote women in the Pokemon community.
Exactly. That's what Pokemon does. It helps you to find your community. From Phoenix, No Gravity. This is a bit of a longer one. Let's give it a read. Had fun at the Peoria Regionals. Went 2-2 and lost to someone who made the top 8. Could have made some better plays and better reads here and there, but hey, it's all about learning and having fun. I'll regroup and get ready for the next regional I plan to attend in San Antonio in December. GG's to all that I play. Thank you, Phoenix. We really appreciate it. We see the Mew plus you there as well.
That is such a fun one. And there are, again, so many different ways to participate at these, to make new friends, to find community here at these regional events. And like we were saying, a great way to pick up new Pokemon. We saw Lickitung time and time again in that first matchup. There are Lickitung spawning at this regional right now in Peoria. There will continue to be Lickitung spawning at future regionals. You want to build one, you want to get that XL candy, Mega Evolve a Lopunny. It's a good idea. Get that normal type boost for the XL candy. Be sure that you're coming to these regionals. It'll help you up your game and make some new friends.
7 out of the top 8 trainers today have Lickitung. 8 out of 8 have Medicham, and there's even a Carbink and Top Cut, and all 3 of those Pokemon are spawning here. But speaking of here, the venue where we are right now, we've got some new trainers on stage as well.
And let's go ahead and take a look on the stage. Winner's side, we continue on the winner's side of the bracket. We have S. James P, who is at here. This is his first official circuit tournament. Very popular in grassroots formats as well. Running that Frostlass, Shadow Gligar, as well as some staples that we've seen previously, the Swampert, Umbreon, Medicham, and Lickitung.
Yeah, I believe this is the only Shadow Gligar in our top cut here in Peoria, but like you pointed out, DeFi, S. James P is a leader in the grassroots community as well, organizing his own team, helping to coach his teammates and help them improve in all manners and facets. Now, that being said, said, his opponent is TeddyBearXD, top 8 at NAIC, and he's not a cuddly teddy bear. He's here to compete. We've got a Shadow Charizard, a Medicham, Shadow Venusaur, as well as Lickitung, Mandibuzz, and Shadow Alolan Sandslash. I really appreciate the double flying type Pokemon from Teddy Bear here. It gives him 2 different modes of attack. If his opponent has, Medicham and Lickitung on their team, then he can bring the Mandibuzz. If they have targets that are susceptible to fire, he can go ahead and bring his Shadow Charizard. But that being said, we're already rolling here. This is our game number 1.
And we have an Umbreon versus a Shadow Venusaur. We have bulk versus that raw power of that boosted Frenzy Plant, doing 20% more damage coming from a Shadow Venusaur as opposed to a regular one.
And as we take a peek at the back line, the Mandibuzz making an appearance here as the flyer of choice for Teddy Bear. That's going to be great news because there's a Medicham and a Lickitung in the back. And this is like the 4th time this has happened this weekend. These Umbreons are throwing foul plays into dark types all weekend long.
They are, and we've been talking a lot about how we're not really sure Mandibuzz is the correct flyer, but for this specific lineup, it is perfect against S. James P. Teddy Bear making a really good team read, thinking about what S. James P. is going to bring. We're going to see the Medicham come in. The Mandibuzz is a little less threatening than if it were running Air Slash, but still going to be throwing these charge moves, these aerial aces, quickly. Snarl just generates so much energy.
Well, this is the difference of that seasonal update we got with Adventures Abound. This Aerial Ace is going to load so quickly, and like you pointed out, Ifai, that fast attack pressure of Air Slash is not there. But look at this Medicham. It's already taken 2 Aerial Aces, and S. James P. actually went over his cap and energy on the Umbreon in order to force the Mandibuzz to dump at least one of those. So now the switch timer's up, though. We can see a swap out here in preservation of the Mandibuzz, but Teddy Bear wants a Protect Shield at the bare minimum, if not an entire knockout.
And we are going to see that knockout. Aerial Ace clears the Medicham away. We have a low health Umbreon and a Lickitung, neither of which I want to see this Mandibuzz.
I was going to say, what do? You've got a Lickitung that has resisted licks, and you've only seen 2 of Teddy Bear's Pokemon. S. James P. is really in trouble here.
Yeah, I don't really see a win condition here for S. James P. That Mandibuzz call by Teddy Bear. Teddy Bear still has an entire Lickitung in the back.
And 2 Protect Shields, right?
My goodness, this game is going right for Teddy Bear. Has all the cards on the table. Teddy Bear looks unstoppable right now.
Yeah, getting the final Protect Shield here for Teddy Bear is really nice. I think that S. James P. made a great call as well in terms of relative damage. Not much is going to hit harder than a Shadow Frenzy Plant from a Shadow Venusaur. So great Protect Shield call, but now he's at a 0-2 shield deficit. Maybe hoping for a flimsy Shadow Charizard in the back, but he's not going to get his wish. In comes the Mandibuzz, though. Going to soak some energy and go for a Dark Pulse. Teddy Bear looking to rattle off this Dark type attack.
Yes, Dark Pulse being it takes a little bit longer to get to than, say, like a Foul Play, but hits just a bit harder. And we see the Lickitung going for the Body Slam, looking maybe, can I pull a shield away? Teddy Bear looks, I can let the Mandibuzz go, kind of shrug of the shoulders, like you've done more than enough for me this time. Now I'm gonna bring in my full health Lickitung, as well as Teddy Bear, I believe, still has both shields. There is not a whole lot that can get through a Lickitung and 2 shields.
I think one thing to remember is that S. James P. does have a boatload of energy on his Umbreon. However, Teddy Bear can actually negate that if he builds double body slams here before throwing a single one. And that's exactly what he's doing. He remembers there's an Umbreon in the back. He doesn't want to throw a body slam and then leave himself exposed and let an Umbreon come in and deploy double foul plays. He's actually going to build to at least 2 before he throws. Here comes the Umbreon. Only going to get 1 foul play here, Defai. I think we're going to see a body slam almost immediately.
Teddy Bear deciding this is the spot. If I'm going to choose where my shield is going to get deployed, it's going to be the foul play from the Umbreon. That's what's going to do the damage here. S. James P., if you're going to throw 1 move, it's going to be the last resort, does a little bit more damage. And then Teddy Bear has a body slam that'll knock out the Umbreon and is almost at the next charge move.
The only thing I'm keeping my eye on is the health of S. James P. Lickitung. It's just outside of body slam range. I think you need to get to a power whip to get the KO. because these licks are double resisted. I mean, this is going to be really close, but James P doesn't have a whole lot of energy either. So I think we see a few licks and the timer expires. Teddy Bear outlasts James P 21 in game number 1.
I do give James P credit. That was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. Teddy Bear just seemed to have such a commanding position, really just taking control early and not letting it go.
Yeah, I think if you are James P, there's one Pokemon you're thinking of, and its name starts with M and ends with Z, that you have to find an answer to Mandibuzz. We're going to see that Frenzy Play connected to the Umbreon, and the catch, the foul play going down the drain against this Dark-type Mandibuzz switch-in.
Exactly. Mandibuzz really just showing its worth here as a flyer, saying, Gligar who? Gligar who? We don't need, maybe we don't need that Gligar. Maybe Mandibuzz, it's bulk. That's where it really benefits here. You're not using Mandibuzz for its attack power. You're using it for its staying power.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Our co-caster Caleb said in the intro as well, this is kind of like a smorgasbord of flyers. You can just pick whichever one you want. Shadow Dragonite, Shadow Charizard, Gligar, Shadow Gligar, even Mandibuzz has play in the current meta, and I think it definitely depends on what team you're running and what points in the meta you're trying to attack. That being said, we're jumping right into game number 2 here. James P back against the wall, needs to win 2 games straight, and this lead is a good start.
Yes, we have a Medicham versus a Lickitung. Again, this Medicham typically wins out against the Lickitung, but it's close. You said earlier, it's dicey. And so we see a quick swap out, actually, by James P into the Umbreon, which has a much more positive matchup, especially now that the Medicham has kind of softened up the Lickitung a little bit.
Yeah, this is an interesting switch in. You bring in your hardest answer to the Lickitung, and you give up switch advantage as well, which means if Teddy Bear can control it, you might end up with your Frostlass as James versus the Lickitung eventually. We're going to see that the last resort get fired off here by the Umbreon into the Mandibuzz, and these are 2 of the bulkiest Dark-type Pokemon in the entire meta. They are just going to duke it out.
I'm wondering if perhaps James P is hoping to get a little bit of energy, like perhaps soft lose this Umbreon, and then bring in the Frostlass to maybe try to quickly get some energy advantage on a low health Mandibuzz. Typically, you have to think about it, these 2 Pokemon have a lot of interplay against each other, Mandibuzz and Frostlass. Frostlass having that ice type can do super effective damage, but the Snarls, the Dark Pulses do super effective damage in turn. Mandibuzz has the bulk, but if you can get it low enough health, you can maybe farm up a little bit of energy, and like I said, Frostlass given an energy advantage, there's not a whole lot it can't do.
Yeah, we talk about range, right? We talk about if it's within Avalanche range. As James P reaches for the Medicham, he knows it's just outside of Aerial Ace range of a knockout, and he doesn't need to worry about the Snarl, so he's going to let that first Aerial Ace through. Here comes the Lickitung switch in, and the Body Slam combo play. James P lets it through. This is actually a second chance, because he reached for the Ice Punch there. I think he wants the Psychic, and given that second chance, he takes it.
Yes, and that Psychic is going to do quite a bit of damage, perhaps even get a defense drop on the Lickitung. And there it is, defense fall. Those last couple counters did just a little bit extra damage. Now what are you to do? Your Umbreon's at pretty low health, brings it in, and just trying to get a little one Snarl of energy and then throw a foul play. Will Teddy Bear shield? No.
You can tell James P is trying to clear the path for Frostlass. He's got a Mandibuzz within Avalanche range and a Shadow Venusaur in the back. If he can just find Protection advantage, I think Frostlass has a chance to reverse sweep this game for James P and keep him in the series, but Teddy Bear needs to prevent it. He needs to do everything he can to avoid letting that happen.
Yes, but as you mentioned, Frostlass needs shield advantage. We are going to have to see how this goes. Going for the Venusaur, the first person to pull a shield here, James P losing that shield advantage early on.
And look at James. He says if I can't get Protect Shield advantage, I'll take HP advantage all day. We see the Mandibuzz switch in. Both trainers are a little bit flustered. They know that this is a very pivotal point in this matchup. Aerial Ace, and it's a bait, and it actually gets Protect Shielded by James.
Oh, Teddy Bear out here trying to rattle the opponent, throwing one Powder Snow before throwing the Avalanche, trying to peel another shield away. Frostlass still very healthy, but any charge move now could knock it out.
Now, we've seen a few charge attacks get fired off. I'm going to keep an eye on that switch timer. I don't think it's quite up yet. I think the Mandibuzz will get to the Dark Pulse Finalists here against the Frostlass. Reaches for it, and this is going to be super effective damage. This gets the knockout Decisive, but there's still an Umbreon in the back for S. James.
But does that Umbreon have enough gas in the tank to be able to knock out both the Mandibuzz and the Venusaur? Mandibuzz going for the Aerial Ace. This doesn't do a lot of damage to Umbreon. I don't think Umbreon can snarl down.
No, you're going to look for an instant switch into Venusaur, try to outpace. Here comes the foul play. I think S. James can do this. He's going to get the foul play here. The Mandibuzz is dry. He's going to land this charge attack onto the Shadow Venusaur and get the knockout. The Mandibuzz will come out. He needs one more snarl.
And I think he can do it because the snarl is not very effective. There's the snarl to knock out the Mandibuzz with a not very effective foul play. Again, S. James P turning the tables, and there's the switch timer again. These two trainers giving us every possible second of play that they can.
Yeah, we're going deep in these rounds. We're going to the 9th and 10th round of these matches. This is so tough as these trainers just outlast each other back and forth. But I just want to point out, just like we saw with Nighttime Clasher in Game 2 in that earlier series, S. James didn't see a win condition, so he made one. He created one by landing that foul play and threatening with the powder snow damage. That was really, really nice.
Yeah, I saw it from the back, and like that Frostlass, it just needs, maybe give it some energy, find a way to clear the path, but you brought up perfectly, it needs shields. You can't give up a single shield before that Frostlass gets on the field, or you're not going to be able to find that win condition.
And that was the thing with Shadow Charizard players last season. We saw if you had a Shadow Charizard on your team and you were no shielding all the charge attacks in the first half of the matchup, you knew that Shadow Charizard was in the back. This is a very flashy play by Teddy Bear to get that Aerial Ace bait. It did save him a little bit of energy, and even you can tell, like, even when he made these solid plays to try to get back into this matchup, S. James P had just pushed the gap too far.
Yes, and here is that Avalanche to peel that last shield away from Teddy Bear, and then we start having this situation where neither side has a shield. All of these charge moves are going to land. The Frostlass is going to go down. It is all on the Umbreon in the back to be able to KO both remaining Pokemon.
Heading into a decisive game number 3. We've got some leads on the field. Umbreon for S. James versus that Lickitung. This is finally a solid lead for S. James. You see the counter swap into the Shadow Venusaur. No answer though, no switch out. He's got Gligar and Frostlass, and S. James P decides to stay in and throw the foul play.
Wanting to soften up this Venusaur first, has two incredibly solid answers, brings in the Frostlass, perhaps thinking that Mandibuzz is in the back still, like maybe the Frostlass is better leveraged here.
Here's the question, can this Frostlass powder snow down the Shadow Venusaur? It needs 6 before that Frenzy Plan is ready. 3, 4, 5. Oh, he's gonna get there right at the last second for the Frenzy Plan, and that is so tough for S. James. He wanted the powder snow down. Now he's got to sink both Protect Shields into his Ice and Ghost type.
Frostlass is shield hungry as a Pokemon. It needs that protection. So now you have a lot of energy advantage. You have the Pokemon advantage, but you've lost all your shields. This is going, S. James has put himself in a very difficult position, but we'll have to see, will the shields matter in the long run? You've got a Pokemon like Umbreon that is just so bulky in the back. Umbreon doesn't need no shields. It can handle everything just fine.
I almost wonder if you pivot out, if you're S. James, if you go for the Gligar, right? If you just rescue the Frostlass, you know it's going to have a huge impact. Yes, we do see the pivot out into the Umbreon to catch the Power Whip, maintaining that Frostlass with a bit of energy in the back. That could be critical later, especially like you pointed out, Decisive, if you're expecting Mandibuzz.
Exactly. So we have the Umbreon using the Snarls, taking these very ineffective lick damage. We see a swab and a catch by Teddy Bear. However, what he's catching, it happens to be a last resort, so it's not an ineffective catch.
S. James peeked into the future. He knew Teddy Bear was going to switch into Mandibuzz. That's why he threw the last resort. He's got a solid read on his opponent in this game 3.
Yes, and there we have the last resort, still trying to do a little bit. These Pokemon are just doing chip damage to each other. However, Teddy Bear still has that shield advantage, still has one shield left in his toolbox. Can he leverage it to work his way out of the situation?
Yes, James is in the driver's seat, in my opinion. He has not even shown his Gligar, which we know is deceptively bulky. Not quite an XL Pokemon, but does get pretty high in terms of stat product. We're going to see the swap into the Gligar actually right here. He's got an Umbreon with a pinch of energy and a Frostlass as well. He's going to go ahead and try to absorb some of this Dark Pulse energy from the Mandibuzz.
However, this is a Shadow Gligar that we're seeing on our screen.
That's
so
fair.
Still doing a little bit extra damage than maybe you would anticipate a Dark Pulse doing, just because its defenses are a little lower. We see S. James P going for the Aerial Ace, peeling away that last shield. Now no one has shield advantage. We are in a zero shield situation. Dark Pulse not going to knock out the Gligar, but is going to take it into the red.
Teddy Bear looking for the swap, reaches for the Lickitung, trying to get the combo play with the Body Slam and spend some critical energy here. What this does, though, is it might open up a window for the Frostlass. I would not be surprised to see Frostlass come in here, reach for the Avalanche. Here comes S. James. He's only a couple away, goes for the Avalanche. This is going to get the knockout onto the Lickitung. Now it's just Mandibuzz all alone for Teddy Bear. S. James P has a chance.
Yes, the Avalanche clears the Lickitung. There is not much that can out-charge move priority of Frostlass. We do see Frostlass reach for the Aerial Ace, but can't make it happen. There we go. Congratulations. We have our winner in S. James P moving on.
S. James P on stage said, let's go. I'm sure he's very, very excited to get that win. We talked about Mandibuzz as being a critical Pokemon in the current meta, a core breaker for that Medicham and Lickitung combination that's so common across all these teams. And if you look on paper at the teams, S. James P was at a disadvantage the entire time, right? It looked like he was fighting from behind, but that's what good trainers do. They stay in the fight, and it doesn't look pretty all the time. It doesn't look flashy, right? But he made it work, just being patient and finding his windows of opportunity.
Let's go back and look at all of these two trainers creating win conditions out of thin air. Taking a look at the second match, we have here the Medicham and Lickitung matchup.
Body Slam will connect into the Medicham. Medicham looking for the Psychic here. Again, this was a second chance as we saw him almost reach for the Ice Punch previous to the Body Slam. Now we see Frostlass imposing its will over the Mandibuzz. S. James wincing a bit though. He knows he's not out of it yet. And the Avalanche does get Protect shielded, but the Frostlass pressure was great, and it's so safe to throw the single Powder Snow and your charge attack within that 3-turn window of Snarl.
Yes, again, that's something that makes Mandibuzz just a little bit clunky here. So just a little bit clunky to be able to use because it has that 3-turn fast move of Snarl. And here we go, the Dark Pulse clearing the Frostlass off the field of play. And then here in the third match, this decisive game 3, S. James P catching here the Power Whip on the Umbreon. Like I mentioned, Umbreon doesn't need shields. Umbreon is a shield. It can absorb so much damage.
And right here, the mind games. He's going to reach for last resort right there. Excuse me, not a second later. Right there, he reaches for the last resort when Lickitung is still obviously on the field because he knows that Mandibuzz is coming in.
Exactly. Really knowing, like, I am going to try to use all of this energy as effectively as possible. And here we have Teddy Bear knocking out the Shadow Gligar in the game number 3. So we have the Frostlass still and the Umbreon. S. James P utilizing that energy that he banked on the Frostlass to clear the Lickitung, leaving the Mandibuzz all alone. And this is where Teddy Bear really saw the win condition slip away.
And that's the beauty of defensive play, right? When your opponent swings, you kind of find that opening and make the counter play. That's exactly what S. James did. He found the counter plays, he found those windows of opportunity, and got a really impressive win against Teddy Bear. But just like a nighttime clasher, Teddy Bear's not out of it yet. He's going to drop down to that loser's bracket and continue to fight his way through the tournament Peoria.
Yes, who will be our champion today in Peoria, Illinois? That is still yet to be determined. However, we can take a quick break and look at our Pittsburgh champion, our first North American champion this season. Let's take a look at Wadaj.
My name is Andrew Ford, or Wadaj, and I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina.
And Wadaj is going to be the grand champion.
Congratulations, Wadaj, in this hectic tournament, the first one of the brand new season. Wadaj is able to take it, and he is able to do it on the back of the Shadow Dragonite.
This event, it worked out pretty perfectly because I want to go to Hawaii and I want to be the best, so it's a really good start. I was actually really nervous going into my first set versus Lao Jeffs, and then I went down 0-2. I was like, wow. He had a really good plan. I wasn't ready for him in the first 2 games, so he was tough. And then I came back, so it felt pretty good. When I went up 2-0, I was really confident that in the 3 next games, I could get something or get some good alignment to win. The meta's changed a lot, and I think after NIC, me and Rise, with our Charizards, we kind of shaped the meta, so I had to change up for Worlds, and now there's a move update for this event, so I kind of just keep adapting. My goal this season is to be the best, just have the most challenge points in the world and America. I'd love to win Worlds. Obviously, on any given day, a lot of people going to Worlds can win, but I think I'd have a good shot. It would just be my final goal. Personally, I have a drive to be the best, and that's about as simple as it gets.
Good night. Good morning.
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 How did we get here? So far from home, on the untread path. But we're not alone, we got each other. So we got a lot, and now the moment's come to finally take our shot. Oh, look how far we've come, look how far we've come. We're so much closer now, through the battles we've won. Oh, look how far we've come, look how far we've come. There's still a ways to go, but look how far we've come. Look how far we've come.
Hey there, Pokemon trainers. Gabby Snyder here with your recap of all the electrifying action that took place at the 2023 Pokemon World Championships in Yokohama, Japan. The second ever World Championships in Pokemon Go brought trainers from around the globe to fight for the title, the prizes, and the glory. With so much on the line, trainers fell back to consistency, relying on Pokemon like Medicham, Lantern, Lickitung, and Altaria to take them through 2 days of tough competition to the grand finals on Championship Sunday. It's Axon and Rubik's Master were the final 2 standing after taking down challenging opponents like Elche, who made it to the winner's semifinals with only 5 Pokemon, and Wadaj, who won the North America International Championships and Hartford Regional Championships back-to-back. While its Axon relied on Medicham as his counter-fast attack user, Rubik's Master chose Deoxys defense form instead. The two had faced off already, not just in the winner's semifinals, but also in the Portland Regionals Grand Finals. With the stage set and trainers ready to go, it was time for the World's Grand Finals to begin. In the final game of the weekend, its Axon made an incredible prediction. Seeing that Rubik's Master left his Shadow Quagsire on the bench for 3 games, he led with his Shadow Alolan Sandslash against Altaria, putting Rubik's Master on the back foot. Switching in his Medicham to counter down Rubik's Master's Umbreon, it was Sableye who knocked out Azumarill to make its Axon not only the 2023 World Champion, but also the first Pokemon Go trainer to win the Triple Crown, a regional, international, and world championship title. With the sun setting on the 2023 season, now is your chance to vie for the opportunity to compete at the next year's World Championships. Make sure to check out Pokemon.com/compete for all the information you need, and who knows, maybe next year we'll see you on stage with the trophy and the title of World Champion.
Welcome back, trainers. We're here in Peoria on day number 2 to figure out who we're crowning as the champion of this regional. We just went through the winner side of the bracket, and now we'll be dropping down to the loser side of the bracket. And these battles are super intense, Butters, because the winner keeps moving forward and the loser will go home early.
No, absolutely. And that last battle was super intense. After 2 games that almost went to timeout between those Lickitung, Mandibuzz, and Umbreons, there's so many charge attacks. I really love that strategy from S. James to just use the Protect Shields on the Frostlass, keep that around, pivot back out, come back in, and get those knockouts, because in the end game, once the Shadow Venusaur is out of the way, it's only going to be Mandibuzz charge attacks and Lickitung charge attacks. So what do you even need Protect Shields for?
Yeah, I think it was very similar, right? You had the hard-hitting Frostlass and the hard-hitting Shadow Venusaur on respective sides, and usually they were just shielding their more frail Pokemon and shielding the harder-hitting moves from those Pokemon. So SJP narrowly able to take the victory over Teddy Bear, which means that in our winners bracket, we have 2 players that have never even qualified for World Championships going to be facing off in that winners finals. But before we get to all that, we're going to be taking a look at the losers bracket, and this is going to be some really stacked competition too. We talked about earlier in the show opening, there's talented players all the way throughout. So first off, we'll have Kimu versus Uzoukwu, and then we'll have RockHaven, first ever regional, versus Rise Vacation, probably our most, actually I would say probably, definitely our most seasoned player here in the tournament.
And remember, my pick going into it, Nighttime Clasher, lost as well, so is in this loser side. And then a former Worlds competitor in Teddy Bear is also in this loser side of the bracket. So all of the previous World qualifiers rise to occasion. Kimu, and then Teddy Bear are all in this losers side of the bracket. And then of course we have RockHaven, Carbink's Last Hope, and Uzoukwu. And we actually have that Uzoukwu versus Kimu matchup on deck coming up next.
Yeah, that's going to be a really good one too. We're going to see if that Galarian Stunfisk is the key to Kimu's success, or did the nerf to Earthquake really hold it back a little bit too much. Kimu is always usually running something a little different, right? He was the first person to win and qualify for World Championships with a Deoxys defense, and then, you know, now we have Galarian Stunfisk being nerfed, and he's using it in the first regional he's participating in this season, which is super strange to me, but hey, it might work out.
You know, the major difference is when we saw that defense form Deoxys, he was making a lot of waves with it earlier. You're like, wow, that actually looks kind of good. I haven't seen him use Galarian Stunfisk almost at all, but I believe the trainers are ready, so we're going to find out if Kimu will use that Galarian Stunfisk. Will it come back into the meta? I'm not sure. It might be a one-off like that Altaria. Could be a nice core breaker, but let's head on over to the stage for this matchup.
Uzoukwu is running a little bit more of a meta team, but kind of like the signature Pokemon of choice today, the Frostlass. And that Frostlass has been super strong, and it was actually very strong for Uzoukwu in day number 1, earning him a spot here in day number 2. But Kimu, also a 2-time Worlds competitor, the champion of Fort Wayne, the runner-up of Milwaukee. This is definitely going to be a tough matchup for Uzoukwu.
No, it really will be, but at least Uzoukwu does have that Frostlass, because look at Kimu's team. You have the Galarian Stunfisk, the Umbreon, the Lantern, and then the signature pick is the Shadow Dragonite, something that Wadaj made popular last North American Regional. Medicham and Superior to round it out. And let's look at Uzoukwu's team, because this is going to be his first top 8 performance. And how will that Frostlass match up? It looks like a hard meta team, right, Caleb? Hard meta team, and then plus Frostlass.
Yeah, and no Shadow Pokemon either there too. So, you know, Swampert, Frostlass, they're not the bulkiest Pokemon, but they have a little bit more bulk now that you're not running the Shadow variants. Obviously, no Shadow variant of Frostlass yet, but Shadow Swampert specifically is nowhere to be seen in this specific matchup. So I think both trainers are ready to go, and let's see how this first battle of the losers bracket is going to shape out. And it's going to be the Umbreon into Lickitung to kick it off, and it's going to be Kimisui's Umbreon to lead, and then we see the instant swap from Uzoukwu into the Medicham.
This is funny because Uzoukwu is running ABA kind of weak to the Umbreon, because Lickitung's weak to Umbreon, and then Frostlass is weak to Umbreon. He did bring in his best counter for that Umbreon, and this is a Water Gun Lantern, as we saw in day number 1, running the Psychic. It looks like actually, so far, the Medichams in day number 2 have been running Psychics. We saw Psychic in the last matchup, now we see Psychic here. No debuff, and this Water Gun pressure is adding up.
Look at the team from Kimisui's side. You got Water Gun Lantern, you got Galarian Stunfisk and Umbreon. It looks like Kimisui is definitely prepared for this Frostlass on the backside of Uzoukwu, so we're going to see how Uzoukwu can manage around that. Frostlass is actually not terrible.
Oh, and it knocks out. The one Water Gun knocks out before the Psychic is available.
That fast move damage is going to take priority over the charge move, so if you can't survive the Water Gun, it is going to knock out. And you can see Kimisui trying to get to the Thunderbolt and gets there just before the Power Whip is reached. And I think Uzoukwu is just going for the farm down, because Uzoukwu could definitely just throw a Body Slam instead. Yes,
and to your point earlier, Kimisui just decided to bring 3 Frostlass counters. So where is this Frostlass going to go? It's just going to be hiding in the back, but with no positioning in the arena as the Umbreon comes in, because you want to come in and just soak all of this energy, soak all these body slams up, keep that Galarian Stunfisk in the back. You know, Frostlass can do some things against Galarian Stunfisk if you get some sort of energy advantage, but I don't know how this Lickitung is going to be able to take out the Umbreon.
And you're absolutely right. I don't think you can, and the problem is the lick damage is not doing anything, so you can't really put it in Powder Snow range either. I think you're going to be forced to potentially shield a foul play on the Frostlass, and Uzoukwu not going to like that, because you want the shields up, especially for that Galarian Stunfisk in the back.
Yeah, and here comes the Body Slam, and at this point, the Lickitung is getting close to in range of foul play, and this Umbreon's at the double foul play, but the Body Slam comes out first. This is going to be extremely close, and actually, he picks up the Protect Shield on Kimisui. This is exactly what Uzoukwu needed in this battle to gain some momentum, because if you're out of foul play range, if you somehow force the double foul play out of this Umbreon, Frostlass could do it in the back.
First foul play is going to connect. You're not really in snarl range. Kimisui trying to get aggressive, and no is going to swap to Galarian Stunfisk. Now this is a much more difficult situation, because now the Frostlass is behind by 1 one-shot.
Yeah, but you are up 1 Protect Shield, and remember that Umbreon is close to double foul play in the back, but it's very low health, so it could get knocked out by a Powder Snow in the end. Letting the first Rock Slide go, you're going to have to start using the Protect Shields eventually. These Mudshots aren't going to do that much, and an interesting factor here. Oh, what a call! Because 1 Avalanche is going to do less than a Shadow Ball. The win condition might have been double Shadow Ball, but Kimisui called the Avalanche. Now you have to commit another Avalanche to knock out this Galarian Stunfisk.
And like you said, this the Umbreon is not within Powder Snow range, and you can't farm too much. Galarian Stunfisk is going to get to the Rock Slide really quickly, and you get to another Rock Slide. Uzoukwu, I think, trying to double up here, but I don't know how you take this out. Yeah, the
timer's so close. By the time you get to this Avalanche, the timer, you do double up here. So if there is no Protect Shield from the Galarian Stunfisk, you can win charge attack priority with the Umbreon. We're going to see if the Umbreon throws it right away. Will Uzoukwu swap? Will Uzoukwu swap on? No. It actually threw a Powder Snow. I can't believe it. He threw a Powder Snow there, and now the foul play is going to be coming through, and it's just 1 snarl away from the next one.
Getting knocked out with a full Avalanche banks, and then here comes the foul play to finish it off there too. Kimisui closing out that first game. Uzoukwu making it super close, so despite the fact that there's 3 strong checks to that Frostlass on the side of Kimisui, but you were absolutely right, Butters. not shielding that Avalanche when it could have been potentially a Shadow Ball, I think was what did it for Kimu Sui.
Yeah, and then that in-game situation where you had the Avalanche banked, you have two options there where you kind of want to either throw the Avalanche and on charge attack priority, win charge attack priority, take that protect shield away from Umbreon, and then force the energy out, and then maybe come in with the Lickitung and try to get to that body slam. But this is the situation I was talking about here. When you have that energy, you have two choices. You throw the Avalanche here, or you probably swap out. Looks like maybe he was trying to get a little cheeky and sneak a Powder Snow through and then throw on optimal timing, thinking Kimu Sui was gonna go for the extra Snarl because he had a Protect Shield. So I don't dislike that play. I think that is a viable strategy if you're trying to get into Kimu Sui's brain that he's gonna throw the extra Snarl to get that extra energy.
I think Uzoukwu did have to do something like that. I mean, I don't know if he was aware of it, but if you look, Kimu Sui throws a foul play. If that was charged from priority with the Frostlass, Kimu Sui shields that. You knock out the Frostlass with the foul play, which Kimu Sui was planning on doing anyway, and you can see Kimu Sui still outpacing the Lickitung to that second foul play. So I think Uzoukwu did need to do something there to somehow win that game. But unfortunately, it did not work out, and we are going to go into game number 2. We get the Umbreon into the Frostlass, and you can see Kimu Sui bring the same exact team. Yeah, Kimu Sui did this day number 1, and doing it again in day number 2. Where's this Frostlass going to go?
Yeah, it has no targets once again. I mean, Uzoukwu played great to give Frostlass a chance in that game number 1. Now, can you get to this double psychic here? You weren't able to get to the double psychic before. Can you hold on to get to that double psychic against Kimu Sui? Because Kimu Sui is probably going to go for Thunderbolt again, but will he now go for that bait? Because Uzoukwu knows if Thunderbolt lands, this matchup is really tough.
But the real question is, does it matter? Because Kimu Sui has 2 strong checks to not only the Frostlass, but the Galarian Stomp is not bad into the Lickitung too, which means, again, ABA weak to that Umbreon, same exact play. And probably making the same play, yeah, coming in with the Lickitung. But in this situation, Kimu Sui already knows the Frostlass in the back, so I think he's going to come in Galarian Stomp into the Lickitung instead. And this is putting Uzoukwu in a really tough position. Uzoukwu, it's deja vu, really, except for the lead. It's going straight away for that lick down as well. But this time, Kimu Sui actually going for the Surf, trying to go to Surf instead of Thunderbolt, which I think is even a better decision than last game.
Right, yeah, learned from last game, knowing that would get to enough energy to double Surf here. This is probably the first change that we've seen in the first minute and a half of this game here, because the same situation, Kimu Sui brings the triple Frostlass counters. There's not a place to bring it. You get the extra Snarl through here. You throw the Body Slam. How do you deal with this Umbreon? This Umbreon looks healthier than it was before. It looks a lot healthier. And now this Lickitung is dangerously close to getting knocked out by foul play, and it's just going to be Frostlass against the world. Guess what? The world is 3 Frostlass counters.
Exactly. I love this play from Kimu Sui because he recognizes that the Umbreon is outer Powder Snow range. You just aggressively swap here. All the Body Slams are doing is absorbing the energy from the Lickitung, but it is not enough to KO at this current time. And you see Kimu Sui throwing the foul play when at double foul play. What do you do if you're Uzoukwu? You know that there's double foul play. Do you still shield? No. Choosing not to shield. Going to come in Frostlass, going for a maybe aggressive farm down. And Kimu Sui not even optimizing here, just throwing the foul play as soon as possible. Wants to just get this Frostlass off the field.
Yeah, I think because here comes the pivot. The timer is back up. There's the Galarian Stunfisk, and Uzoukwu is shaking his head. He knows now, instead of being up a Protect Shield like he was last time, he is now down a Protect Shield, and these Rock Slides are going to be super effective. And we saw before, the Avalanche just does not have enough reach to knock out the Galarian Stunfisk because it's neutral, and it's looking like Kimu Sui might get a 3-ball flex in the end here.
Yeah, 3-ball flex, super impressive stuff from Kimu Sui. I mean, that really goes to show a lot of these mid to end game scenarios are super hard to figure out.
Two shield 3-ball flex.
Well.
That's the ultimate 5 Vecta there to have.
5 Vecta, yeah. I think you made a new terminology, but I like it. You know, I'll give it to you. We don't see that super often, so we probably won't hear that terminology super often. But that was a tough matchup for Uzoukwu as well, because you got 3 checks to Frostlass. Frostlass had nowhere to go in those matchups, and Kimu Sui powering through with that Galarian Stunfisk, Water Gun, Lantern, and Umbreon combination. And that is the power of utilizing these Pokemon that are weak to fighting types if you don't have a fighting type charge move, right? And I think Kimu definitely came into this matchup knowing that Uzoukwu has Psychic Ice Punch instead of Dynamic Punch, being able to run ABA weak to fighting, no problem. And you can see the Lantern in this first game landing the Thunderbolt to knock out. I don't even know if it's first game or second game because this happened about the same way, but I think this was the first one, Butters.
Yeah, and that was the first one, and then it happened again in game number 2, but this was the crucial scenario, and I actually want to give a shout out to Uzoukwu here, because I was saying there's 2 options, but he kind of went for the tricky option where he was predicting Kimu wanted to get the double foul play so that he could throw foul play on the Frostlass knockout, then throw foul play on the Lickitung, so he went for the risky play, but in that situation, I'm not sure if there was an option to win besides the risky play, so it might seem really strange to throw that Powder Snow, but huge shout out because I think that's a high level choice from Uzoukwu there.
Yeah, like we said earlier, it was a really tough situation for Uzoukwu because Kimu just has so much energy on that Umbreon. And then we see game number 2, deja vu of game number 1, again landing that Thunderbolt. But I love this, just the smallest adjustment in the second game. Kimu going for the double serve instead of the Thunderbolt, just learning from that first game despite the fact that he won, right? And just that's super incredible. Even when you win, you're still learning along the way to figure out how to play the second game even better. And look at the result, 3 Pokemon, 2 shields left. I think he did play the second game much better.
Yeah, and you know, Kimu was ready for exactly what Uzoukwu was going to bring and brought that triple Lantern counter, and it just brought the same team 2 times in a row, and it looked like Uzoukwu was prepared for what he wanted to bring to, brought the same lineup that ABA weak to Umbreon 2 games in a row, was forced to swap in the Medicham, so a little bit unfortunate, but Kimu moves on and continues this stacked losers side of the bracket, still 3rd previous world qualifiers on that loser side of the bracket, and I believe our next matchup is going to be another Worlds qualifier because it's going to be Rise to Occasion on the stage here with Carbink's only hope, RockHaven.
Okay, we're talking about Carbink's only hope, but I believe this Galarian Stunfisk on Kimi's side is the first Galarian Stunfisk we've seen all season making top cut. So wild to say that the amount of top 8 performances with Carbink and Galarian Stunfisk is tied, but that's the reality we live in. That's the meta we live in, which is, I love it, right? It's super weird, but it's super cool to see. We had Galarian Stunfisk, one of the top meta Pokemon of last season and season 1, dropping down so far in usage. But enough about Galarian Stunfisk. It's all about the Rockman himself, RockHaven, Carbink Master, and the only Carbink trainer to ever make it to top 8, facing off against a juggernaut of opponents, Rise to Occasion. I think the most decorated player here in this top cut in Peoria.
Absolutely. He has been so successful in this championship series, and I actually had a moment to talk with him this morning, and he was saying he was screaming against RockHaven's team, and it was giving him a ton of trouble. In RockHaven, actually, this is his first championship series play Pokemon Regional, but he is a longtime leaderboarder on Go Battle League. He's actually, I think, ranked 180 or something on the top 500 leaderboards right now. So a talented trainer for sure, and bringing that Carbink superior core that was so tough to deal with yesterday. And from the looks of it, or from what Rise said, he was having a lot of trouble keeping up with that team in scrims.
Yeah, I'm sure he did a lot of preparation last night. Maybe lost a little bit of sleep stressing over it too. But I'm very excited to see how these battles shake out. And I love what you point out about RockHaven, right? Never attending any official championship series tournaments, but at home playing Go Battle League, or maybe like you playing Go Battle League on the go. I see you backstage playing Go Battle League as well, Butters.
It's Go Battle League weekend.
Exactly.
You need to get those games, and you need 50 games.
You do. But it's a great way to sharpen your skills and really feel comfortable in so many matchups. A great way in that first and only top cut performance so far. RockHaven run the superior Shadow, Alolan Sandslash, Sableye, Lickitung, Medicham, and Carbink. And this team is wild to me because it's so weak to grass types, and he doesn't have a single flyer.
And do we remember, he has the Dynamic Punch Medicham, right? So to be better against those steel types and the Lickitungs, obviously, to have more play in that scenario. Let's go ahead and look at Rise to Occasion's accomplishments. Look at this. Milwaukee Regional Champion, Knoxville Regional Champion, NAIC finalist. He was, I think, the only trainer in the last 3 North American tournaments to actually beat Wadaj in a series. He was able to beat him and reset the Grand Finals. He ended up losing the Grand Finals at North American International Championships, but the only trainer to do so in months. So that's extremely impressive.
Yeah,
and
outside of Worlds.
Outside of Worlds.
Yeah.
That's North America. But
Okay.
in the Shadow Alolan Ninetales is a spicy pick that we haven't seen in a while. Actually, he made famous last season. That Shadow Alolan Ninetales was because of Rise to Occasion. So can he do that? Can he make it famous once again? It's good against the grass types. It's really bad against Carpink. Here is the superior into Medicham leads.
Yeah, looking at Rise Occasion team, it's not that weak to Carpink, which is why I'm not surprised RockHaven did not bring in this first matchup. It is going to be the superior versus Medicham, and Rise Occasion is running the Psychic Medicham, so it is going to be much better in the mirror matchup. But look at Rise Occasion's backline. It's a Lickitung and a Registeel, which is really going to struggle against RockHaven's Medicham in the back and already tanking a Frenzy Plant. Rise Occasion needs to recognize this and find a way to take out this Medicham somehow, or take out the superior and then maybe save the Medicham. I think it might be a little too late for that, and RockHaven is going to be loading up for that aerial ace, and it looks like it was charged from priority. So Rise Occasion's Medicham actually winning charge from priority, which are very key notes to point out for the remainder of this series.
Yeah, and trying to get alignment here by putting up the Protect Shield and then pivoting, and then it's an instantaneous pivot from both sides. So this does bait out this Medicham, but you're down on Protect Shield. Do you invest this last Protect Shield into the Lickitung? Because yes, you have your Medicham that is a counter to this Medicham, but you're quite low already on the Medicham, and Registeel is really strong against RockHaven's team. The only true counter is this Medicham right here for RockHaven.
Yeah, but the problem is up a shield, now up 2 shields. This Sableye is about to go completely unchecked on the side of Rise Occasion. Yes, Registeel can go kind of neutral in that situation, but Sableye up a shield is going to be a much harder thing to deal with. And you can see RockHaven preserving the Medicham because you really want to take out this Lickitung so that you don't have to deal with it with the Sableye. Oh, I love this play too. Farming a little bit more so that gives Rise Occasion less ability to farm off of this Medicham. And is going to throw the Ice Punch because I think Dynamic Punch is a little overkill at that point. And then here, Medicham has a little bit of health. Do you go for the aggressive farm down if you're Rise? It's really risky though because there's that Dynamic Punch. And you see, no, the instant swap to the Sableye instead, letting this go. Save the shield for Sableye for Registeel. This is looking really tough for Rise.
Yeah, this is tough. I thought the aggressive farm down could have been a play, but it would have been really risky because that Medicham would only be taking lock-on damage. It might have got to Dynamic Punch, but I think Rise needed to win this game a switch option, right? He's switch locked right now. He needed to be able to switch on a foul play to make up for that Protect Shield difference, and now he's switch locked against the Sableye, up a Protect Shield. Incredibly tough for Rise to Occasion.
He needs this debuff. 66% chance, 2/3 of a chance for a debuff. Can Rise get it to keep this game alive? And it is. Okay, so we do get the attack drop, but you can see RockHaven farming up so much energy, already ahead on energy. I think he gets both foul play off before the second Zap Cannon comes through.
Yeah, I think he'll get to the double. He'll get to the back-to-back. He just needs 2 more turns. How many turns does Registeel need? Registeel needed 3 more turns, so that's just a back-to-back and a 3-ball flex for RockHaven. I know there is going to be that Medicham in the back, but Sableye is going to be able to take that with just a couple of Shadow Claws, and that's a GG for game number 1, and Rise to Occasion was right. This team is giving him a lot of trouble. How can he bounce back here and try to reverse sweep this set?
That is the pressure of Carpink. You have Charizard, you have Alolan Ninetales, which is kind of even against a Dynamic Punch Medicham, but you need the Charizard to finish off that Medicham. It's such a good matchup for Rise, but if he locks it into the Carpink, he's in so much trouble, and it's a Rock Throw Carpink on top of that. And the Carpink, pretty good, honestly, into both the Charizard and the Alolan Ninetales. Not too bad into Lickitung and not terrible into the Medicham. So there is a lot to worry about in that specific situation. We see the replay here. The Zap Cannon is going to go through debuff, but you can see because RockHaven swapped early, was able to outpace. You know, we said that Rise Occasion was a few lock-ons away from Zap Cannon, but RockHaven was also going to charge for priority on the Focus Blast, so there was just no shot Rise Occasion can even land any meaningful damage on this Sableye at this point in time. Look at that, charge for priority, and Rise Occasion knows it.
Yeah, and I just want to point out or go back to your point about the Carpink. And since Registeel is so strong for Rise to Occasion against RockHaven's team, you know RockHaven is going to bring Medicham to every game. And how do you counter that if if you're Rise to Occasion. All your best counters are Shadow Charizard, great counter. You don't want to bring Shadow Charizard because of the Carbink that is on the other side, and even the Shadow Alolan Ninetales, which would be a good superior counter, you don't want to bring that either. So the bench pressure is immense. How do you counter that? How do you counter that Medicham? It feels like Rise to Occasion is stuck playing Registeel Medicham core.
And RockHaven knows it. Think about the team from last game, Butters. Superior lead, Dynamic Punch Medicham in the back. If Rise Occasion brings Shadow Charizard, it's game over for RockHaven. But RockHaven says, you know what? I know you're scared of the Carbink. I know you're kind of worried about the Alolan Sandslash, because that's also going to do pretty well into Charizard in a lot of situations, unless you bait perfectly. And so he just goes for the gamble, and it completely works out in his favor.
You know, also, Carbink opens up Superior. It makes Grass so safe. Because of that bench pressure, you can just throw Superior into all the games because you're not expecting Shadow Charizard. You're not expecting Shadow Alolan Ninetales. And here is the Shadow Alolan Sandslash. It's Powder Snow, if I remember correctly.
I thought it was Shadow Claw.
I'm pretty sure. Oh, it is Powder Snow.
Oh,
it is Powder Snow.
Okay,
so
okay.
Powder Snow is going to be good against the Lickitung. Rise actually knew that it was Powder Snow. That's why he instantly pivoted out into Registeel, because Registeel is now a much better matchup against the Powder Snow Shadow Alolan Sandslash than the Shadow Claw version.
This is so tricky for Rise, because you can't come back in with Lickitung into a Dynamic Punch Medicham. So Rise Occasion is forced to show his own Medicham after this matchup. There's no way Registeel can take this Medicham out at this point. I think you just get countered down all the way. Okay, RockHaven being a little bit safe and is going to throw this Ice Punch. But now what do you do if you're Rise? Do you come in with Lickitung? It just doesn't make any sense.
And what do you do about the backline?
Yeah,
what do you do about the backline? The
Sableye
Sableye into the Medicham. This is just so much trouble. Yes, you will be able to get some sort of energy here, but you can't counter all the way down. So what? You'll come out with an Ice Punch or an Ice Punch and a half, a Psychic, but that energy is going to go nowhere into a Sableye, and then you're going to get back to your original matchup, the Powder Snow Shadow Alolan Sandslash versus Lickitung. I don't know how Rise is going to be able to do it.
And RockHaven even going for the Dynamic Punch. It is resisted, but it's going to do a little bit more damage than Ice Punch. So just getting as much usage out of this Medicham as possible. And Rise, you're going to see on his face, here comes Sableye. It's not going to be great. And then now comes in the Alolan Sand. Maybe we're going to throw a Foul Play first. I think, yeah, going to throw the Foul Play first and then come in with the Alolan Sandslash. I do like this play from RockHaven. Chip it down to ensure that Alolan Sandslash can win this. However, the switch items are now misaligned, so Rise might have a little bit of chance. I don't know. It's looking really tough, Butters.
The thing is, Rise is also full on energy cap pretty much. So even though it's misaligned, he's not going to be gaining much of an advantage because he didn't throw the Ice Punch. He would have needed to throw the Ice Punch and then leave with less energy, so then he could counter down that Shadow Alolan Sandslash. But now, no Protect Shields here. Maybe you'll see some Protect Shields out of the Lickitung against the Shadow Alolan Sandslash, because at this point, you could probably lick down the Shadow Alolan Sandslash, but you'll have to give up 2 Protect Shields. And here comes the first one of the game from Rise to Occasion.
And you hate shielding Ice Punch because this is the fastest move that RockHaven could get to on his team here. And you see RockHaven actually going for the harder hitting drill run. And you see the double shield from Rise to Occasion. Rise knows that he needs to get rid, he needs this Lickitung for that Alolan, for that Sableye. Can you get to the one more Ice Punch? No, you cannot. That is huge for Rise to Occasion. Now baiting with body slams, and you're going to get the first shield from RockHaven.
But how are you going to figure out a way to take out this Sableye? Because you're in foul play range with both Pokemon. It doesn't matter if you swap because you're full on energy on the Medicham. So here comes the next body slam into Sableye. Can you get the next Protect Shield?
Oh,
no,
it doesn't get shielded
Can
either.
you try to go and throw a Psychic, get a debuff, something? You can't even throw back-to-back Ice Punch because you throw this Ice Punch and you know RockHaven is going to throw the foul play on charge attack priority as he saves his Protect Shield. I expect the foul play. No!
He's going for the double. He's going for the double.
He's going for the double.
Yeah, he knows he wins charge priority against the Lickitung. He just gets the double foul play, throw one at the Medicham, or maybe just Shadow Claws all the way down, throw the next one to secure it. And
wait a second!
Oh my gosh, I was so close.
Precision!
But RockHaven, knowing his win condition, throwing this foul play. One more loaded for the Lickitung, and it is going to be enough to knock out this Lickitung. RockHaven 2-0 against the seasoned rise to occasion. After watching that, I completely get why Rise was stressed about this matchup. A really tough one for him.
Yes, incredibly tough for Rise to occasion there, and well played by RockHaven, having the 3-ball flex in game number 1, and in game number 2 actually putting us on edge from a game that we thought was there's almost no lose conditions down the stretch, but just playing consistent, playing patient, just playing out the win conditions that he had in his mind. He didn't have to rush anything. He just decided to win it how he wanted to win it, and now he's moving on in this loser's side of the bracket. And wow, it's been incredible to see these brand new trainers that we haven't seen before. Yes, they have Pokemon Go PvP experience, but to see them on stage taking out these seasoned battlers, it's been incredible to watch in Peoria.
Yeah, let's take a look at the replay of that series. What an incredible feat RockHaven did, taking down Rise to Occasion. No easy feat, and you can see really on the backs of that Sableye in that Medicham in both games. You could tell Sableye, a staple in Pokemon Go PvP, kind of dropping off a little bit in usage. I know Z's Wilds won with the Sableye on his team for Barcelona, but not a lot of players using Sableye. RockHaven bringing it back, and it is full in action, and it's so strong. One of the strongest Pokemon, especially one of the safest Pokemon with this coverage. And really, the only Pokemon that really walls it off is Carbink, and the only person that has it is RockHaven himself.
And it was just so safe against Rise's team as well. The only counter, quote-unquote, is Lickitung, and it's, you can do okay against the Lickitung. You don't have any dark types like Umbreon or Mandibuzz. There is no fairy type, so Sableye was looking incredibly strong, was able to finish off 2 games straight for RockHaven, and incredibly impressive. He didn't even show the Carbink, but that is the power of Carbink. It has so much bench pressure. I think it's the best bench pressure Pokemon ever. I know I'm saying a lot of things ever, like it's the best meta ever, but I truly believe there has never been a better bench Pokemon as Carbink. The only thing that comes close is Toxapex, in my opinion.
Well, there's some other rock-type Pokemon that get bench pressure, but I do like a good bench pressure rock Pokemon, so I will agree with you there. I'm with you, Butters. Let's take a quick look at the bracket here and see what it's looking like right now. So we have King Alexander and S. James P. in that winners finals, waiting to duke it out there, and it is going to be a best-of-5 series in that winners finals, of course, grand finals and losers finals as well. And looking at the losers bracket, which we've been powering through right now, we have Kimu 2-0 against Uzoukwu, and then RockHaven 2-0 against Rise to Occasion. Now we're going to have Nighttime Clasher face off against RockHaven, and then Teddy Bear versus Kimu. Teddy Bear versus Kimu is a very interesting matchup. Actually, no, both of these are, because I believe they're both rematches from day number 1.
Yeah, in 2 former Worlds qualifier in Kimu and Teddy Bear, the Nighttime Clasher versus RockHaven. We have those matchups next. I believe we're going to go on the top of the bracket first with the Kimu matchup. But yes, there are going to be incredible. The talent is absolutely stacked on the bottom of this losers bracket. It's really hard to come all the way from the losers bracket and win the whole thing. It might happen in Peoria, but we have those losers battles coming up next. It's been interesting to watch the meta adjust. We talked about it on day number 1, how there's a lot of optionality. You can do a lot of different things in this meta, but when it comes to day 2, we still see a ton of Medicham, a ton of Lickitung, and when trainers' backs are against the wall, how can they utilize those signature picks, those variations in their teams to get out ahead? I'm curious if Kimu is going to come back to the Shadow Dragonite like day number 1.
Yeah, Teddy Bear's the only person that really give Kimu a lot of issues on that day number 1. Like I said, the one person to knock Kimu into that loser's bracket. And, we see that mirror situation with Nighttime Clasher versus RockHaven. And again, looking at that day 1 usage, Medicham just a staple in Pokemon Go PvP. But I do like that there is that wrinkle now of Dynamic Punch versus Psychic. We've seen, I think, 2 Psychic versions so far, Rise to Occasion and Uzoukwu, but both Psychic Medicham were knocked out, and so far the only Medicham remaining, or at least a couple of the Medicham remaining, are running that Dynamic Punch.
Right, and look how good Shadow Dragonite is actually against the top 6 of the meta. It's just so
Pretty
safe
good.
because there's no Steel types, there's no Fair types. Let's go over to day 2, see what these top trainers brought out. In Grass is back for sure, but I'm continued to be shocked by the Swampert. And you mentioned earlier, it's interesting that there's no clear flying type favorite. And I think that makes for a more dynamic meta because you don't know exactly which flying type to prepare for, because you can build your entire team to just build it around that flying type. And of course, we know the flying type of choice for Kimisui. It's Shadow Dragonite. On the other side for TeddyBear, it's that Shadow Charizard.
I don't think anyone really misses a days of where Noctowl was pretty much the only flyer people brought, right? Occasionally an Altaria here or there, but the meta is so diverse and it really changes, like you say, Butters, a lot of the dimensions of these matchups and how they play out, because even preparing for these tournaments, it's much harder to prepare for a tournament and know exactly what you're going to face when you can face a whole host of different flyers and just in general team compositions. I don't think TeddyBear expected to see a Galarian Stunfisk in this tournament, but here we are.
And you know what's funny? Which flying type would be best against Medicham, Lickitung, Core?
TeddyBear's running two flyers, actually.
Yeah, two flying types.
That.
And that Mandibuzz, that is actually good against that Lickitung, Medicham, Core, but Kimisui is not running the Lickitung. It's that one trainer that doesn't have it on the team. Instead, has that Galarian Stunfisk, Umbreon, Lantern, Shadow Dragonite, Medicham, and Superior.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting for sure. I think looking at that Galarian Stunfisk, it has a lot of play into the both flyers. It's kind of neutral into that Venusaur. It's not too bad into the Lickitung, but Alolan Sandslash and Medicham are going to do pretty well into that Galarian Stunfisk. Obviously, you have to land an Earthquake to take out that Shadow Alolan Sandslash, but if shields are up and TeddyBear plays it well, it's usually in the favor of that Alolan Sandslash. I think Kimisui's probably going to rely a lot on that Umbreon yet again. I think Umbreon's really been Kimisui's most reliable Pokemon in this tournament so far. We're going to see how that plays out. It is going to be a terrible lead for Kimisui. Shadow Alolan Sandslash into Superior, one of the hardest checks.
And this is not Powder Snow, it is Shadow Claw. Looks like Superior is just staying in here because didn't want to swap in the Umbreon yet. Trying to swap on a charge attack, didn't get it. And one of the last remaining Psychic Medichams out here. And this is actually not bad for Umbreon because if Umbreon gets an energy advantage, you can get to that triple foul play or the double foul play in last resort and actually knock out the Medicham, because we know Medicham without Dynamic Punch, it doesn't necessarily beat all the things weak to Fighting type.
So this is a tough part for Kimisui. He really needs Switch Advantage right now, right? And, you know, just looking at that opening matchup, typically you say, yeah, he needs Switch Advantage, but he really needs it because that Shadow Alolan Sandslash has so much energy on top of the positive matchup it has against Superior. So Kimisui's really going to be trying to fight for the Switch Advantage. But, you know, even without Dynamic Punch, Medicham is still pretty good into the Medicham.
And the thing is, it's TeddyBear's choice, right?
Yeah.
This is TeddyBear's choice who wants alignment. He chooses right here, and he chose alignment right here. And Kimisui can't get alignment back because now you'll just counter down if you just match shields. If he threw an undercharge on the Ice Punch, trying to get a little bit of extra energy out of this, or maybe expecting the Protect Shield, but no, just getting a little energy out of that. And TeddyBear chose for alignment, and that's going to be crucial in the back line.
Yeah, this is going to be super interesting for Kimisui, and luckily TeddyBear did not even build up to the Psychic, just throws an Ice Punch, so Kimisui knows definitely cannot be a Psychic. Kimisui actually also running the Psychic variation. Now TeddyBear is building up to that Psychic. I think Kimisui might just shield this. You have to spend your shield somewhere. Oh, choosing not to shield. Is there a way Superior could beat this Shadow Alolan Sandslash? I don't know, but Kimisui thinks there might be a chance. Going for an aggressive counter down, having so much energy in the back. You come in Lickitung for sure to absorb this energy and just the counter damage, but I don't know. There's a lot of energy on that Shadow Alolan Sandslash.
And when I said one of the last remaining Psychic Medichams on every team, so there definitely is more Psychic Medichams here. And here comes the next Psychic node, swapping, trying to bank an Ice Punch here. And the thing is, this Shadow Alolan Sandslash is in range of double Frenzy Plant, so there is only one Protect Shield remaining. Can this Superior get the triple Frenzy Plant or bait with an Aerial Ace? I think that's what Kimisui just did. I think he pressed the Aerial Ace, which if TeddyBear knows, he would know Protect Shield.
I think the bait is crucial, but one other thing to think about is the switch timers. There's still there was 3 total shields in this scenario, and
He's
lot of
thinking about it. He
shields! No shields!
It does nothing!
Absolutely wild. But now I think you're in Frenzy Plant range. I think Kimu maybe needs to bait here again. I don't know, double down, but let's see if Teddy Bear is going to shield this or not, and choosing to make the correct shield call. There's not enough time for Kimu to swap out though, and so this Ice Punch is going to land. I think even if Kimu baited with the Aerial Ace, it does still get outpaced by this Alolan Sand Slash.
Oh, but hangs on, but not with enough time to get to the Frenzy Plant. Gets knocked out by the Shadow Claw, and now this Lickitung can just come in and try to lick down. Here comes the Psychic, but it's not going to be enough. Kimisui doesn't even need to press those bubbles, and Teddy Bear is going to be able to take this game number 1 against Kimisui.
Yeah, well, definitely an impressive showing too from Teddy Bear. I mean, again, the power of the utility of a Psychic Medicham does come at a cost, right? Teddy Bear able to run ABA weak to fighting, Alolan Sand Slash in the lead, super weak to Medicham with a Lickitung in the back, because he knows if it's the Psychic Medicham he's facing, which he played Kimu yesterday, he knows he can just safe swap the Lickitung and it's not that bad of a matchup. And you can see Teddy Bear getting to the Psychic, Kimu just not shielding at all, trying to put everything on the Superior, and Superior is so strong in this meta, but that Alolan Sand Slash is really one of the harder checks to it, and that's why I think it's one of the premier Steel types and taking over the usage of Registeel.
I just want to point out a couple nuances of team building here. I feel like since Teddy Bear is running that double flying type, really weak to Lantern, he was expecting maybe a Lantern in game number 1. And I really liked how Kimisui ran a team that's very weak to Mandibuzz and Charizard. He's almost inviting Mandibuzz or Charizard into game number 2. I'm actually expecting Kimisui to go for that Water Gun Lantern in that game number 2. Just trying to catch your opponent in the advantageous positions of bringing the counters to the first team and then countering those counters. I mean, Teddy Bear has a ton of experience as well. He's placed 3rd place in Fort Wayne, tied for 7th at NAIC. That's how he got his world qualification. So has actually more experience technically than Kimisui, because he's only played in 2 tournaments, so he's seen these strategies as well.
Yeah, I mean, Kimisui did play in 2 different world championships too. So,
True.
There's that. But, you know, Kimisui, that Superior pick is super curious to me, right?
Yeah, with Charizard and Mandibuzz on
But
the
not
team.
even that. There's also a Venusaur. There's also a Alolan Sand Slash.
Yeah.
But also, there's no water type on the side of Teddy Bear. You're at best have neutral matchups against Medicham and Lickitung. There's really no target for Superior. So I personally would love to see Kimisui maybe pivot away from that Superior strategy and maybe bring 3, you know, just leave it on the bench is all I'm trying to say, right? Because I think maybe Kimisui trying to go for something specific there that I'm not picking up on, but I think just bring that Superior is such a huge gamble because you just have 4 losing matchups and then 2 just neutral matchups. There's not a lot to be gained there.
Well, I would say, as we're getting into game number 2, and this is terrible for Kimisui, having the Shadow Dragonite lead into that Shadow Alolan Sand Slash, having the Umbreon and Medicham in the back, and just staying in here. Remember, you don't want to take any superpowers, trying to swap on the Ice Punch into Umbreon, now back into Medicham, and just like it was in game number 1, this is Teddy Bear's choice. Teddy Bear is the one who decides alignment, because if they match shields, Medicham will take alignment.
Teddy Bear showing a lot of patience too. Both games, Kimisui trying to catch energy on the Umbreon, but both games, Teddy Bear choosing not to throw and recognizing that might be a play Kimisui is going for. Kimisui actually shielding an Ice Punch, recognizing that he really needs this switch advantage. Actually, I like this a lot because if you get both shields from Teddy Bear, you can just superpower the Alolan Sand Slash. However, you do have to watch out for a potential combo play because switch timers will be up, and that Ice Punch is loaded on that Alolan Sand Slash, and that could be a lot of energy wasted on that Dragonite.
And even if you get Protect Shields down, using both the Protect Shields here, but now, I mean, you can get the alignment, you can have your Medicham into, do you go for the last resort? No, just going for the power play. Like I mentioned, Teddy Bear has a choice. You can match shields, but I do love this play. You either take the alignment, matching up Medicham into Shadow Alolan Sand Slash, or you take the Protect Shields, and then you could possibly have that superpower, or even look at Medicham. Oh no! Getting the foul play and getting both the Protect Shields from Teddy Bear here. Even look at Medicham. Up energy, can Psychic the Venusaur and then finish off the Shadow Alolan Sand Slash.
Yeah, exactly. So even if Kimisui gets potentially combo played from this Alolan Sand Slash while trying to farm down the Sand Slash.
And you have to come in Medicham. You have to come in Medicham.
It doesn't even matter too much,
Will he get to Ice Punch? It's going to be really close. No, he does get to Ice Punch. That was, no, wait, what? That was, I'm not sure exactly. Kimisui's a little bit puzzled there himself. and the Ice Punch does land onto the Dragonite there. I think you had to come in with the Medicham, because if the Medicham gets the Ice Punch, it's over. And now it seems pretty over for Kimisui.
It's not completely over though, but I mean, yeah, this is definitely over. The Frenzy Blade is going to hit pretty hard, and there is an Ice Punch loaded. The Ice Punch is not enough to take out the Venusaur in one shot. You can see Kimisui just farming up a little extra energy, but knowing that the Ice Punch is loaded on the Alolan Sandslash is going to be bad for this Medicham, because it is going to win charging priority as well. And I mean, even if it doesn't, like you don't have a fighting move to throw out the Alolan Sandslash, so this is going to knock out. And yeah, that Ice Punch against the Dragonite was a little unfortunate for Kimisui.
That's why I thought Kimisui had to bring in the Medicham to counter down, to get up energy, and then that Teddy Bear would have been forced to bring in that Shadow Venusaur. You land a Psychic, maybe you can counter it down, or maybe even try to swap on a Frenzy Plant into your Shadow Dragonite, and then you might have had some options if you bring in that Medicham. But I think they're might go to review here. My thought process on this is Kimisui thought that the Medicham was multiple counters away from Ice Punch, and then he was confused how it suddenly got to Ice Punch energy. So that is what they will be reviewing, and I think the confusion from Kimisui in game number 1.
Yeah, exactly. And so it looks like the players are going to request a review, which I think is totally fair in that situation. We have our expert judges on stage reviewing these battles, so definitely hang tight. But let's review this entire series so far, though, as we wait. Teddy Bear, the trainer to take out Kimisui in day number 1, I think overall it's just a tougher matchup for Kimisui in general, right? There's just, like, I don't know. I don't know where you go. What do you bring into Teddy Bear's team, right? The Umbreon is safe into Teddy Bear's team, but it keeps getting stuck on that Medicham, and even without Dynamic Punch, that Medicham can still win switch advantage against Umbreon. That's the biggest difference between Umbreon and Lickitung. Lickitung can force the Medicham to shield in that zero shield situation to win it, and also that lick damage is really adding up.
This is the thing that they're reviewing right now. We didn't see before what happened to get this Ice Punch. It'd be interesting to see how many counters away Teddy Bear's Medicham was, but Kimisui thought that he was going to be able to Dragon Breath down before the Ice Punch was available. But as you can see here, the Ice Punch gets available first, and Kimisui is always calculated. We've heard him talk in the past about defense form Deoxys and every single way that it was advantageous. You know he knows what he's doing, so it's not often you see him confused in that situation, so that is exactly why they are reviewing it. But to go back to your point about what do you bring against Teddy Bear, I actually thought Shadow Dragonite was the play, but the only thing...
yeah, Alolan Sandslash.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, it's so good against everything else but the Shadow Alolan Sandslash. It was just unfortunate that Shadow Alolan Sandslash was in the lead. Kimisui decided that it was so safe, deciding to bring it in the lead, but a fantastic call by Teddy Bear, and if this does go to a rematch, I think you still bring the Shadow Dragonite once again.
Teddy Bear made incredible reads on Kimisui's potential teams, right? Winning that lead, the counter swap, and the backline matchup in both back-to-back games. That in itself is a huge skill in Pokemon Go PvP, especially the Bring 6, Pick 3 formats. And Teddy Bear, you know, we talk about how experienced Kimisui is, but Teddy Bear also very experienced in these battles, and you can see it right here in this series.
You know, one thing, Kimisui doesn't have a true Medicham counter either. You have your own Medicham, you have Superior that can win in zero Protect Shield situations or other Protect Shield situations. You even have Umbreon that can do okay, but we've seen in this scenario that if you decide to commit Protect Shields, then the Medicham will just win that matchup. You have Galarian Stunfisk, you have Water Gun, Lantern, and then even Shadow Dragonite, yes, neutrally static situations, it will just get to the Dragon Claw at the same time as the Ice Punch. But as soon as you get one counter ahead on that Medicham, now that Medicham can start beating that Shadow Dragonite. So I feel like Teddy Bear is definitely going to bring that Medicham every single game. So looking at Kimisui's adjustments, how do you counter that Medicham pick? I feel like you have to bring Shadow Dragonite. I feel like Shadow Dragonite, Lantern Core is really strong, and then maybe your own Medicham. Sit that Umbreon.
Yeah, very astute points you brought up there, because it's pretty wild, actually. In a Medicham meta, Kimisui is not running any hard Medicham checks, really just running a lot of soft checks, which is why the play style had to be super fluid, right? It can't be very straightforward in those situations. Dragonite, very, very strong, but it does have to shield every Ice Punch. And, we can see judges are continuing to review this specific matchup. But yeah, a very interesting situation for sure.
We got our head judge, Scrappin' Pete, on the stage there to take a look at the footage to try to finish off this review and figure out exactly what to do. And here is the situation. So 1, 2, 3. So it's in slow motion. It's really hard to tell how many Dragon Breaths are registering, Caleb. That's what I'm trying to look at. So you definitely see the 3 counters go through to Medicham, but how much health did it have? Could you endure 6 turns of Dragon Breath at that health is my biggest question at this point.
Yeah, I think in that specific situation, it's really, did Kimu get all the Dragon Breaths that he was supposed to get in that specific matchup? Because if he did, and he believes it might be enough to knock out the Medicham before that move was thrown. I think that's the big thing that they are reviewing right now. And the judges are going to look at this very seriously to determine if a rematch is necessary or not.
And it's so hard to tell, right? Because Dragon Breath does an impressive amount of damage, and if you even miss one of them, what is the calculation? How much exactly, the dimensions of how much exactly does one Dragon Breath do? It's really hard to eyeball this situation, but like I said before, I think that's exactly what they're looking at to see if 6 turns of Dragon Breath would knock out a Medicham before it reaches that Ice Punch. I think Kimu thought that 6 turns of Dragon Breath would do the trick, and our judges are fantastic. They're going to review this and make a ruling decision on if we do in fact have a rematch for game number 2, or the match will stand and Teddy Bear will win the series 2-0.
Yeah, exactly. Really well stated there in that specific situation. So looking at the team of Kimu, obviously Shadow Dragonite looked really strong in some matchups, but it pretty much gets one shot by Ice Punch or a lot of ice moves in general. What are your thoughts on it, Butters?
So my fear was initially, I'm just looking at the Dragonite. So the Dragonite, it starts to use Dragon Breath damage. It just seems.
I think it took 1 counter or so, I think.
Yeah, before it started.
Anything, yeah.
Yeah, visually it looked like that, and then it started to take Dragon Breath damage. It's really hard to tell. It's very hard to tell. I just want to talk about what my fear was when I was casting it. I was thinking you have to come in with Medicham, because I actually thought that Teddy would get the double Ice Punch. So I was thinking the strategy is actually come in Medicham, counter down, get a Psychic loaded or an Ice Punch loaded, and then try to Psychic that Venusaur, maybe try to then swap on a Frenzy Plant, and then you could win the entire game with Medicham. I mean, I'm serious. That's what I thought, because I thought the double Ice Punch was incoming.
Yeah. I agree. I don't. It is a convoluted way of playing it out, but I think that is the winning condition. The tough part, and obviously us as spectators or commentators or people backstage, etc., watching these battles, is we can see the full team on the side of Teddy, right? But we don't know. But Kimu doesn't know that it's a Venusaur in the back. It could have been a Mandibuzz in the back. It could have been a Shadow Charizard in the back. It could have been a Lickitung, right? So some, in some situations, maybe the energy doesn't play out, right? You have to predict it's exactly the Venusaur, which will be taken out with 1 Psychic to be your win condition. And so I think that's the tough part with a lot of these, competitors. And sometimes we forget it, because I know myself when I'm competing, I'm making some weird plays, right? But in my head, I'm thinking it's a completely different scenario, and people are watching like, why are you doing this, right? You could just won it by just staying this matchup. And that's the tough part about being a competitor. But of course, if it's your first time, that's something I always think about as well.
That's a fantastic point, mentioning that we knew it was Shadow Venusaur in the back, but Kimu didn't. And yes, that would have been probably the better play if he knew the Shadow Venusaur was in the back. But it also, I thought, was the proper play because of the risk of taking the Ice Punch. You can't take an Ice Punch on a Shadow Dragonite with no Protect Shields. That's just a fact. So I felt like there was a genuine risk of taking that double Ice Punch on the Dragonite. Maybe he was trying to get some energy and then swap or do something, and it got a little clunky there. It looks like Scrappin' Pete is explaining it to it, and Kimu is being very professional about this, shaking Teddy Bear's hand, and it looks like the ruling stands. Teddy Bear wins 2-0.
Yeah, history will repeat itself. Teddy Bear is going to take the victory and continue in this losers bracket, beating Kimu not just once, but twice if you include the results from day number 1. You know Kimu is hungry for that rematch and some redemption, but it is not happening today in Peoria. There goes my pick actually to win it all, Butters.
Yeah.
I know your pick is coming up with Nighttime Clasher and RockHaven. Nighttime Clasher being besting RockHaven in day number 1 in that winners finals. RockHaven also looking for some redemption here in day number 2.
I think our picks are a breathtaking 0-4 so far in day number 2, as this was a pivotal moment in that game number 1 because the no protect shield on this Psychic just left this Medicham too vulnerable to the backline because it just didn't have enough health that it needed because, as you could see, it was really good against that backline. And then this is where Teddy Bear chose his fate. He chose that he could take the alignment, and then that was crucial to the backline.
Yeah, really in the driver's seat. I mean, choosing his fate, he was pretty much in the driver's seat the entire series, and it really goes to show why. Yes, the Psychic is going to land, but there's just way too much health on this alone Sand Slash, and part of it, I think, is really Teddy Bear's patience, right? Kimu, I think, made I don't hate the play he made because he knew that he was probably out team comped in that situation. You need to build yourself an advantage somehow, and catching energy on that Umbreon would be a potential play, but Teddy Bear, recognizing that situation, having the patience as well and the experience to know that that is a play that Kimu is going for, just did not throw the move, continued to build on top of his advantage.
And I just want to give a shout out to Kimu as a competitor. He always has such positive energy. He's amazing to watch. He handled that so professionally. So huge shout out to his run in Peoria. What a performance. Teddy Bear does win that 2-0. And remember, we talked about how stacked this loser side of the bracket is. A lot of former world qualifiers there. Can they make it all the way to win the championship here in Peoria, just like Dancing Rob did as our first world champion?
Hello, Pokemon trainers. Welcome to Pokemon Championships History, a series where we showcase important matches throughout the history of competitive Pokemon. I'm Will Dunphy, and let's take a trip back to the first Pokemon Go World Championships in London, England in the summer of 2022. Dancing Rob from Germany and Godon Hada from South Korea took their seats at center stage for the Masters Division Grand Finals. What happened next was more exciting than anyone could have ever predicted. This was Pokemon Go's inaugural season in the Pokemon Go Championship Series, and only one of these trainers could become the first world champion. Pokemon Go's 2022 competitive season was characterized by the nearly unbreakable core of Walrein and Trevenant. This pair's synergy made them almost irreplaceable on a team of 6. But as Pokemon Go established its own unique identity within the championship circuit, so did its trainers. Unique Pokemon like Air/Mandibuzz, Ember, Shadow, Kanto, Ninetales, and Obstagoon claimed regional and international titles around the world. Dancing Rob competed earlier in the year at Pokemon Go's first ever live-streamed event, the 2022 Europe International Championships. Dancing Rob made a powerful run through the losers bracket in day 2, before being defeated by the eventual runner-up, Freaka. With that, Dancing Rob had qualified for the World Championships in London. That August, the World Championships began. After a promising 2-0 start, Dancing Rob was defeated by Lurgan Rocket, Pokemon Go's first ever regional champion, in just the 3rd round. This loss set Dancing Rob down into the losers bracket. What happened next is something that may never happen again in competitive Pokemon Go. Dancing Rob would go on to win the next 7 rounds, including a rematch against the Liverpool regional champion as he completely swept the losers bracket. With a combined record of 9-1 and everything on the line, Dancing Rob took the stage, head-to-head against Godon Hada for the Grand Finals. As a result of Pokemon Go's double elimination format, Dancing Rob needed to win not 1, but 2 best of 5s against his opponent to claim the championship. The Grand Finals began, and Dancing Rob's Alola Ninetales, Medicham, and Shadow Swampert secured him an early 2-0 lead. Then, Godon Hada and his Shadow Kanto Ninetales fought back, you have the opportunity to close this tournament out right here and right now, you might as well just go for it.
Godon Hada claimed victory in games 3 and 4 and tied the series 2-2. In game 5, the world held its breath as the matchup between the final Pokemon on the field was decided by just a half-second Dragon Breath.
Galarian Stunfisk gets to the rock slide first, and we have a bracket reset.
Dancing Rob's Galarian Stunfisk reached the rock slide, and Dancing Rob had successfully forced the Grand Finals reset. In Game 1 of the Grand Finals reset, Godon Hada's Shadow Kanto Ninetales met Dancing Rob's Alola Ninetales in the lead. Game 1 belonged to Godon Hada, but Dancing Rob struck back in Games 2 and 3. Godon Hada would even the series yet again with a Game 4 victory. Now, tied 2-2, both trainers were just one game away from becoming the first Pokemon Go World Champion. Years of hard work, dedication, and practice boiled down to one final matchup.
This is my moment. This is my opportunity. I'm going to seize this championship, this victory, this glory. This is it. This is my time to become the first champion. And we are queued up here for a decisive game number 5.
Dancing Rob and Godon Hada's decisive battle began, and Dragon, Steel, Fire, and Ice attacks erupted from the field. Dancing Rob positioned his Alola Ninetales to overcome Godon Hada's Shadow Kanto Ninetales, and the crowd roared as Dancing Rob finally defeated Godon Hada. History was made. Dancing Rob had just become the first ever Pokemon Go World Champion. Dancing Rob is proof that you need hard work, determination, and belief in yourself to become the best. Thank you so much for watching, and let us know some of your favorite moments in Pokemon Go history by using the hashtag #PlayPokemon.
Welcome back, trainers. We are here in the midst of an action-packed day here at Day 2 of the Pokemon Go Regional Championships right here in Peoria, Illinois. I am Stephanie Christine, also known as DeFi250, and I'm joined by the Will Dunphy.
It's been an honor to cast this with you, DeFi. I cannot wait to get into these next rounds. We've seen incredible matches, great technical proficiency, some team composition advantages, and some of those advantages overcome. It's been a really exciting tournament this weekend in Peoria, and we have even more matches on the way. So make sure to stay tuned. Grand Finals aren't for a little while. We still need to kind of see how this bracket shakes out as we move through Day 2.
Yes, we still have a losers round 2 to play, as well as the winners finals, losers finals, and then the grand finals will be upon us. But I believe we have to start with the match that is right in front of us. Our battlers are ready on the stage.
On the left side of your screen is Nighttime Clasher, his 4th top cut in a row, versus RockHaven 703, as Tuo Butters called him, the last hope for Carbink to win a regional championship, at least so far in the season.
So 4th top cut in a row versus first official tournament ever. Who is going to be the victor here? We are already on the battlefield. Enough of pre-hyping it up. Let's get right into the action, and we have a mirror match we haven't seen yet today, and that is Shadow Alolan Sand Slash. I see that Powder Stone flying on the battlefield.
Yeah, I think a large part of this lead scenario here is due to that Shadow Dragonite. You've seen that Pokemon get called out by these Shadow Alolan Sand Slashes all weekend long, and I think that walking into this mirror matchup does give you a lot of play, especially if you're Nighttime Clasher, because you just won the Charge Attack priority.
All right, that is incredibly important information to take into the future. So we see a swap, and then we're into that Medicham versus Lickitung matchup. In the one shield scenario, it can really depend a little bit who's ahead on energy, who's ahead on health, who's willing to put up a protect shield. And there is no shield for this dynamic punch from Nighttime Clasher. So Nighttime Clasher going to throw a body slam, and I think we're going to see a 1-2 punch before the Lickitung is kaput.
I was going to say, DeFi, this is a close matchup with the traditional Medicham moveset, but Dynamic Punch absolutely decimates that normal type Lickitung. We're going to see the Medicham from Nighttime Clasher come in here. Same movesets mirrored here on the screen. Ice Punch, it actually might be enough enough to KO and winning another charge attack priority. Here comes Nighttime Clasher.
There we go. We have the Ice Punch clearing the Medicham off the field. We have Shadow Alolan Sand Slash, and there is that Carbink. Carbink leveraging its rock typing for the fast move. Doesn't love that against the Medicham. Typically, you would want Tackle for that matchup. But in this current meta game with all of the other options, maybe Rock Throw is the way.
And we saw there, Nighttime Clasher has been studying his Carbink matchups. He threw the Dynamic Punch right on the Moonblast and then switches in the Shadow Alolan Sand Slash to absorb this resisted charge attack. And he's also a bit ahead on energy. Nighttime Clasher is clutching this matchup up.
Yes, and we know winning that charge with priority, so able to throw right away on the drill run. Will RockHaven preserve the Shadow Alolan Sand Slash? No, lets it go. And then Carbink gonna have a really tough time here. It's getting pretty low on health. We're gonna see RockHaven has to shield this drill run if he wants to keep this game going, but Carbink's gonna have a really rough time. It takes it a while to get to its charge moves. Gonna fast move down, but and going to go for the Moonblast, but Nighttime Clasher has that Dynamic Punch stored. Nighttime Clasher winning the first matchup here in Losers Round 2.
Yeah, signed, sealed, and delivered. Tied that matchup nicely with a bow on top. That Dynamic Punch was definitely the knockout against the Carbink, and very, very well played. Think about it from RockHaven's perspective, right? You've got the Carbink in the game. You've got your Shadow Alolan Sand Slash in the back. Your opponent's not going to throw Ice Punches. There is no opportunity to switch out and catch that charge attack from Medicham. There's nowhere to send that energy. Your Carbink has to absorb it all. So going into this next game, what kind of adjustments do you expect, Defy? Because we didn't see the Dragonite. I doubt we see it in game 2 because we saw Shadow Alolan Sand Slash and Carbink from RockHaven.
I don't know. I don't know if Carbink is cutting it with that Rock Throw. I'm kind of torn between what the fast move of choice should be here. I feel like Carbink could have an easier time with Tackle against some of these Pokemon. Maybe Rock Throw might be better in the Go Battle League or a different format. Tackle might be better off. And here is that catch from Nighttime Clasher absorbing. And it, like we were talking about yesterday, you want to waste your opponent's time and energy. And absorbing a Moonblast like that really is the best way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a few win conditions there for Nighttime Clasher, but that's enough recap on game 1. We're hopping into a fresh game number 2. If Nighttime Clasher wins this, he continues on. RockHaven back against the wall. We see the same lead scenario here, Defy, and same teams as well.
Game 2, Deja Vu. Speediest Chief, we have the Alolan Sand Slash mirror map. We have the same teams, but this time Nighttime Clasher knows he wins that charge move priority right off the bat. Goes for the bait, RockHaven falls for it.
And I think if you get the bait there, you can't afford to no shield. You can't afford to give up that advantage that you just secured. Granted, it's not a huge advantage, right? Because the energy differential is very small. We actually see Nighttime Clasher kind of multi-press. He presses the Lickitung and the Medicham. Medicham comes out. If he's protecting the same team from RockHaven, Lickitung has a better matchup against that Carbink in the back line.
Yes, so let's go ahead. We're going to see these two Medicham are very similar. They are both running that Dynamic Punch, something we're not used to seeing, but is kind of new in this meta. We see Nighttime Clasher going for the Dynamic Punch, Speedy.
Yeah, Dynamic Punch coming through here, not going to be protect shielded up by RockHaven. I think when you've seen these players play day 1 and especially day 2, you know those movesets. You know there's no reason to shield up that charge attack. Ice Punch from RockHaven pushing for the efficiency quota here. We might see another Dynamic Punch from Nighttime Clasher. Let's see. Actually, Ice Punch coming through. Do we see a shield? This will be the final protection.
Yeah, that would be tough to watch all that energy go down the drain. So Nighttime Clasher thinking the same, putting up a Protect Shield. Has 2 Ice Punch locked and loaded, but we have a catch on the Carbink, catching an Ice Punch, but Medicham still has a lot of energy. Are we going to see the Dynamic Punch? We see it stored in the back. Right now, if Nighttime Clasher threw the Dynamic Punch, RockHaven could just easily shield it.
Bait. Defy, look at this bait. This is an Ice Punch bait. RockHaven calls the Ice Punch on the Carbink. Great call. He needs to get to that rock slide to get the knockout here against the Shadow Alolan Sand Slash. Nighttime Clasher maybe getting a little bit too fancy on his feet.
Yeah, and and he is going to pay for it. The rock slide doesn't quite knock out the Shadow.
Oh, he gets it anyway!
A drill run anyway. away. RockHaven, is it a bait again? Will you drop this last Protect Shield? Doesn't use it. Carbink stays in the game.
That's impressive. Carbink is bulky, and it had a lot of hype for good reason. Switch timers are almost up. No switch out occurring here. Here we see the Medicham come in looking for the knockout against the Carbink. Carbink has no energy. We see no safe switch either. Medicham has energy. It has a lot of fight in it. Here comes Shadow Lowland Sand Slash. Dynamic punch from Medicham.
But RockHaven has to decide, is it a bait? Is it the dynamic punch? Is it the ice punch? Correctly shields the dynamic punch, and we see Medicham pulled out of battle with just a sliver of HP. We now have Lickitung versus Shadow Alolan Sandslash.
This isn't over yet. Powder Snow on Shadow Alolan Sandslash can completely flip this matchup against Lickitung. Those double resisted Shadow Claws are no longer in play, and suddenly Lickitung is down into the yellow, and another drill run coming through. RockHaven is relentless.
This is going to sting, Speedy. Drill run coming through, leaves Lickitung down into the red, and having to throw a body slam here to knock out the Medicham, but the Shadow Alolan Sandslash still there in the back. There's still a Medicham with energy. This body slam not gonna knock out Nighttime Clasher. Really wanted this to be a power whip, but just came up a little short.
Well, I'll tell you what, this body slam will connect. It will chip down the Shadow Alolan Sandslash, but the Sandslash has an ice punch loaded. Here comes him. Oh, excuse me, he's 2 away. Does he get there? Yes! Just with a sliver of HP, RockHaven escapes game 2 with a victory. He had a little less energy than I thought, but it ended up not mattering.
We are at here a decisive game 3. Nighttime Clasher and RockHaven. Nighttime Clasher on a roll with top cuts. RockHaven new to the scene. Who is going to move on and who will end their tournament run here? There are so many different things that happened in that match. Even though we started the same, we started with that Shadow Alolan Sandslash mirror. We move into the Medicham mirror. We see this catch on the replay of the ice punch. That was crucial, keeping that Carbink healthy.
Yeah, in a game this close, I think just this single ice punch catch made a huge difference. The counter swap of the Shadow Alolan Sandslash and then the ice punch. I believe this one does get protect shielded if my memory serves me right. Actually, no, I don't think it does. He calls it. That was a great call by RockHaven, especially when you're going to take super effective damage. I think that's the only Pokemon on Nighttime Clasher's team outside of the Lantern that in the Venusaur, which would deal super effective damage.
RockHaven making all the calls the dynamic punch, and then Nighttime Clasher, that is a very healthy Lickitung, but however, RockHaven has such a powerhouse in that Shadow Alolan Sandslash, able to really utilize the attack power of that Pokemon to break through Lickitung's defenses.
Yeah, and we saw Z Swilus at the special event in Barcelona also leveraging this Powder Snow Shadow Alolan Sandslash in order to get a lot of damage, fast attack damage towards Pokemon like Lickitung. You know, we've seen the meta kind of evolve. Lickitung fell out of the meta last season with Noctowl's prominence rising, and now that Noctowl's out of the meta and Lickitung is everywhere, you need to find answers, and even these slight adjustments, these micro changes like the fast attack can make a big difference in the outcome at the end.
Yes, and again, so really interesting here with that Medicham mirror match. That has really changed quite a bit how that plays out once you see two dynamic punch Medicham. Typically you want to go for that psychic, you want to go for that defense drop. Now we're seeing some ice punches thrown, we're seeing a little bit more of the dynamic punch, just trying to get, if you can get one last move in, the dynamic punch will do a little bit more damage. So trying to see, it's very interesting to see how these mirror matches can evolve.
Yeah, and I was actually doing a little bit of, eyeball scouting in terms of the damage. I do think dynamic punch does slightly more to opposing Medichams, but it is a little more energy intensive. So if you have time to get to 2 charge attacks, you're always going to search for the double ice punches. But if you only get one, dynamic punch will make a difference. Heading into a decisive game 3, though, loser goes home. This is a really tough lead for RockHaven and a rocky start, to say the least.
Yes, Medicham being very clearly Decisive in that matchup. We see RockHaven pivot into his own Medicham, and then Lantern being the swap for Nighttime Clasher. Lantern actually looks pretty solid here.
Yeah, Lantern looks great. A lot of neutral flex play, and we haven't seen Superior through the first 2 games, so I think it's definitely a safe bring. And here it finds the Medicham. A lot of trainers like Nighttime Clasher we saw earlier on today lean on these more neutral picks when they are in a decisive battle. That's exactly what he does here as well. Lantern lands the Surf, gonna look for a Thunderbolt, actually can go ahead and settle for the Surf damage here. It's not quite enough to knock out though, DeFi.
No, it's not Medicham, and definitely not if the trainer is going to use a Protect Shield, going to garner a lot more energy. Medicham knowing it can safely get quite a few more counters in before Lantern gets to its next charge move. RockHaven going for the Dynamic Punch, takes the Lantern down, and 1-2 more counters, but Lantern just barely hangs on to throw the Surf. RockHaven has to decide, is this an advantage I want, and keeps the Medicham on the field, decides I want switch advantage. I want to know where that Shadow Alolan Sandslash is at all times.
That Lantern surviving that Dynamic Punch might be the most important play of the game because it allows Nighttime Clasher to control the tempo of this matchup, to save his Protect Shield and save his Shadow Alolan Sandslash in the back. That might end up being decisive as the Ice Punch connects here. I would not be surprised at all to see an instant switch out from Nighttime Clasher into his Sandslash. He's reaching for it already.
Yes, and then we have the Carbink. Shadow Alolan Sandslash versus Carbink, but the Shadow Alolan Sandslash does have a shield advantage here.
Yeah.
We have the drill run going off now, taking the Carbink down under half health. RockHaven also still has a fully healthy Shadow Alolan Sandslash of his own, which wants to avoid Nighttime Clashers, but this is a drill run. Seems like he is sacrificing this Pokemon.
But yeah, when your Shadow Alolan Sandslash has absolutely zero play against opposing Medicham, you need to get creative. He did bank a charge attack on the Carbink as well, and Nighttime Clasher remembers he wins the charge attack priority, so he just goes straight for the Ice Punch. The pacing for Carbink is so slow. It needs to KO the Shadow Alolan Sandslash, break a Protect Shield, and KO the Medicham in the back. There's just too much for Carbink to do, and Nighttime Clasher drills it home here. He's going to get the drill run and the knockout and stay in this tournament, eliminating the only Carbink trainer left.
Yep, and with that sigh of relief, Nighttime Clasher winning and continuing on here in day 2 of Peoria here at the Regional Championships. Nighttime Clasher 4 top cuts in a row and is proving that he deserves that title. He deserves his place here in day 2.
I was catching up with Nighttime Clasher after day 1. He said, you know what? I've actually never won a game in day 2 at any of my top cuts. As soon as I get to day 2, that's as far as I go. Then I get knocked out. Well, I think he just changed up that pattern here in Peoria this weekend. And sometimes, DeFi, those wins, that threshold, that glass ceiling you're trying to break through, once you finally see the other side of it, it could be a turning point. Like with Dodge and Hartford, right? He was not the same trainer after he won Hartford.
No, so let's go ahead and see. I want to take a look at this game. Nighttime Clasher winning a game here in day 2. We talked about key pivotal moment was the Lantern not knocking out and being able to throw this Surf, drawing a shield, drawing that final shield from RockHaven.
Yeah, right there. That was absolutely critical. If you go shields down this situation, Carbink has a chance. If you give up switch advantage and your Shadow Alolan Sandslash takes a few counters, that could also have flipped this entire game. Everything went right there for Nighttime Clasher, and you try to catch a drill run on the Shadow Alolan Sandslash for your RockHaven. You give yourself every opportunity here, but it's just not enough in the end game. Really, really well, I guess, played, and also the team choices from Nighttime Clasher are really outstanding. Lantern, a great call in game 3.
Yes. So, again, incredible show. Here's the Shadow Alolan Sandslash throwing the drill run, clearing the Carbink, and Nighttime Clasher with his hands in his air says, I did it. I broke through day 2, and he will be moving on. But he is not going very far, Speedy. He will have to continue through the loser side of the bracket. We've mentioned it before. Fighting your way through the bottom half of this bracket is tough. It is a marathon of a day. our winner side trainers, they're relaxing. They have time to recuperate. They have time to think. If you are on the loser side of the bracket, you are fighting battle after battle.
It's almost like I think they play like 50% more games, right? Just to stay in the tournament. It can be a real test of skill and endurance. Let's track our progress so far. If you're just joining us, Kimu able to take the 2-0 victory over Uzoukwu. Very, very impressively done. Teddy Bear with the 2-0 over Kimu to eliminate him. On the bottom side, RockHaven taking the 2-0 over Rise to Occasion, eliminating probably the most decorated trainer in the top 8 today. And then Nighttime Clasher with the decisive 2-1 over RockHaven. Now we've got Teddy Bear versus Nighttime Clasher coming up, and like you pointed out, DeFi, these winners bracket trainers are just resting at the moment.
Yes, we will have King Alexander and S. James will be coming up shortly, but they have one more battle to sit and relax and watch, observe. They could potentially be watched. They could be potentially up against these trainers. So they get to sit and wait in the wings while the next two trainers fight it out. Like I mentioned, Nighttime Clasher wasn't able to go too far, has to face Teddy Bear.
Yeah, I think if I'm one of those winners bracket trainers, I'm doing scrims, I'm practicing. Maybe in Go Battle League, I'm playing for Go Battle Weekend. I'm trying to stay warm because those long gaps, those long periods, especially if you've had long queue times in Go Battle League, you know that you can cool off and you pick up your phone to play and suddenly you're a little bit off, your time is a little bit slow, your reactions aren't where you want them to be. So I definitely think these trainers need to get into their element, get into their zone, whatever it might be, and just get as comfortable as possible because there's still a lot of fight left. And I'm really excited to see Teddy Bear versus Nighttime Clasher. These two trainers incredibly resilient, and they're going to put on a great show for everyone at home.
All right, while Teddy Bear and Nighttime Clasher get comfortable, get logged in and ready, let's take a look and see what's going on out on social media. We have Rachel, Japan squad reunited in Peoria, going from sea to sea, from coast to coast, country to country. We have a group who is in Japan together back here in Illinois. It's awesome how these friendships, how these opportunities to meet up at these Play Pokemon tournaments they can cross continents.
Exactly right. It's a worldwide community, and within that community, you can make lifelong friends. Need for Speedy says, Peoria was the first regional I staffed as a Play Pokemon professor. A lot has changed for Go within the past year, and I'm so glad to have been a part of it. It's been a lot of hard work, so make sure to hashtag thank your judges. It takes a lot of energy for success. I just want to vouch for Speedy here. It's a very thankless job, right? When the judges make the right calls, everybody heaps the praise. When they don't agree with the calls, they only get that negativity. So it's a job that needs to be done. We need the best possible professionals to decide our winners in these close matchups, and we are so thankful that these judges have, donated their time, their energy, their effort in order to get that done.
Yes, and we are done now with the social media tweets, and let's head on over to the stage. We have our battlers ready to go.
All right, our matchup here, Teddy Bear on the left, Nighttime Clasher on the right. We've seen Nighttime Clasher be a little more aggressive technically in his game 1 of the series, but in game 2 he tends to pivot more towards a conservative lineup, and by game 3 he's got most things figured out. Teddy Bear though, very impressive, has these two modes of attack. Can use that Shadow Charizard, can use the Mandibuzz where he either has that high octane, high damage output Charizard, or that kind of grind him out, wear them down Mandibuzz.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the Mandibuzz is going to have that same level of play. It can find that Lickitung, it can find the Medicham, it can find the Venusaur. So Mandibuzz still looking pretty okay here.
This might be a selfish opinion, DeFi, but I'm just going to say it. I would really love for Nighttime Clasher to lean more on that Shadow Dragonite. It's so much fun to watch, and I know it's so like a nerve-inducing to play, but I really want to see that Pokemon come out because it can apply so much pressure. And if you're going to come out of the gate swinging, Shadow Charizard is one Pokemon I'd love to have on my side.
Yes, it is fun to watch the booms, as we like to call it, those heavy-hitting moves, and just that aggressive gameplay. Also, when we're using those Pokemon that are a little bit more frail, it's a lot more fluid gameplay. It's a lot, I don't know, it's a lot more movement.
It's movement, and it's also situational, right? You have to get yourself in the right position to succeed. I just realized I said Shadow Charizard. I also want to see Shadow Charizard. Shadow Dragonite, Shadow Charizard, bring out those Shadow Flying type Pokemon. Our trainers are getting locked in here. We're going to have some leads in just one moment.
Yeah, we're heading down to the field of battle. We have a Medicham and a Lickitung. Looks like our trainer's going more for that bulk right now, Speedy, but I do see in the back that Shadow Dragonite.
And switch advantage is going to be really critical in this matchup. A slight advantage in the lead situation will go to Nighttime Clasher. He does have Dynamic Punch Medicham. Here goes a Body Slam from the Lickitung. Both of these trainers like to play for shield advantage, but they don't always go for it. So how they want to maneuver this opening matchup is going to tell us a lot about how they want to execute the rest of this game. This is a massive bait.
On Teddy Bear falls for it. It's just an Ice Punch. You kind of see a shake of the head like, oh, okay, I see you. I see you, Nighttime Clasher. And we see the Medicham go right for the Dynamic Punch, and Teddy Bear says, no, I have to shield this. I have to keep this Lickitung. Really wanting to fight for switch advantage here with the Lickitung. Going for all the way with the fast move down, sacrificing both shields to maintain that advantage. That is a huge sacrifice. Is it worth it?
This is so critical. I really appreciate the fact that Nighttime Clasher sends out the Shadow Alolan Sandslash. Not only are you resisting these body slams, but you don't give up any of those protect shields. And look at what just happened. We've got a 2 protect shield Shadow Dragonite in the back for Nighttime Clasher versus Teddy Bear. This is gonna get really wild.
I think that Shadow Dragonite is about to pop off. But first, we have to chew through this Lickitung. Almost gets to that next body slam, but can't quite do it. There's the Medicham. There's the Shadow Dragonite. And Nighttime Clasher is going to see what this Pokemon can do.
Oh, and look at Shadow Claw, Shadow Alolan Sandslash going straight for the superpower. This is a little bit precarious. Maybe would have liked to see Nighttime Clasher build up a little additional energy. He says, bye-bye, Shadow Alolan Sandslash. See ya, superpower connects. Here comes the Medicham, but that debuff is going to be a bit taxing because the counters are adding up.
They do add up quite a bit. We are going to see this Dragon Claw come through. It is 1 attack stage lower than usual, so we're going to see it do just not quite enough damage. Medicham looking to build up to double Ice Punch and chews through the Shadow Dragonite. But doesn't matter because the Shadow Alolan Sandslash had a move in the bank. Nighttime Clasher feeling cool and confident over on the right-hand side. Feels good after taking that win in day 2. Like you mentioned, he broke through the ceiling, and he's feeling good. He wants to earn his way into the Grand Finals.
I just want to ask, who needs Protect Shields when you're a Nighttime Clasher? He took both of those Protect Shields all the way through the duration of the game, and I think a decisive point was actually early on in that matchup when Teddy Bear double Protect Shielded up his Lickitung in the lead versus Medicham. That was a very telling situation. I think Teddy Bear wanted to control switch advantage, wanted to control the pacing of the matchup, but Nighttime Clasher had some other plans.
He did. So, Speedy, we're talking about Shadow Charizard, Shadow Dragonite. For you, if you were planning to come to a tournament, if that was your plan, which of these 2 powerhouses would you bring on your team?
You know, there's so much Lantern. I would have to go with the Shadow Dragonite. It's such a fun Pokemon to play. Superpower is a great coverage, charge attack as well. As we saw against the Shadow Alolan Sandslash, you can never count Shadow Dragonite out if it's in the right scenario. There's some situations like Shadow Charizard versus Azumarill. Even if you have Protect Shields in play, Azumarill is probably going to get the better of you. And that's not even to say Lantern, right? But if you're Shadow Dragonite, you can come back against Registeel, against Galarian Stunfisk, against Shadow Alolan Sandslash. You can fight back with that superpower, and it's a really fun Pokemon to play. I mean, you saw the HP on the Medicham just melt down. As soon as you thought Teddy Bear had a chance, suddenly his Medicham was limping out of that matchup before he even saw the Shadow Alolan Sandslash.
I know, and something I have to bring back, something I have to recall was just Nighttime Clasher's confidence going with that boom of a superpower. So we can see here we have the Ice Punch. I think getting that shield away early was really critical in this initial matchup. We have something pretty exciting on the stage after this replay will show it. Speedy's popping off right now.
Yeah, I can't contain myself. Let's talk about this replay here. This is what's on your screen. That was a great protect shield by Teddy Bear on the dynamic punch, but it really paved the way. Nighttime Clasher took his time, thought about it, brought in the Sand Slash. Now he's with the Shadow Dragonite. Does not want to use a protect shield. And look at this, a friendly little wave popping up here. He says, nice to meet you. See you later.
I love that. Somebody please clip that on the stream. That is a gif I need in my life. You were a little nervous though, Speedy, because this means the Dragon Breaths of Dragon Claws are going to do a little less damage after the superpower, but it didn't matter because we had that Shadow Alolan Sand Slash in the back, of the matchup.
I'm just going to armchair quarterback this, right? I think if you are Nighttime Clasher, it's safe to go ahead and allow the 10 Shadow Claws and then charge attack priority tie right when that Sand Slash is reaching for the second Ice Punch, right? You shield the first one, of course, but then the second Ice Punch, you charge attack priority tie, land the superpower. That probably gives you a Dragon Claw walking into the Medicham matchup. Not that you needed it, right? I'm just talking like extra insurance, extra buffer. But what you didn't see is behind the scenes, Nighttime Clasher actually caught a perfect Barboach. I would love to see that Whiscash in Ultra League one day.
Someday for the Whiscash. But we saw that pop up on our screen and Speedy just popped off.
Yeah,
I looked,
awesome.
He might have hatched it because I'm looking on my screen. I don't see it.
Might have been a research task, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh, maybe from research. Very cool. So, you know, again, come to these regional tournaments. There are so many cool Pokemon that you can get here. I like Barboach. What I also like are when the tournament moves on to the next game, Nighttime Clasher. Let's see if that cool confidence is going to carry him into game number 2. We have Speedy. I feel like we just keep casting these Lickitung mirrors today.
Yeah, these two Pokemon meet on the field quite often. This is game 2 of the losers semis. If Teddy Bear loses this game, he is out of the tournament this weekend. Nighttime Clasher needs one more victory to advance into the losers finals. Body Slam does connect. These two best buddy Lickitungs just throwing down here as those double resisted licks are doing basically no damage to speak of. You really need to rely on these charge attacks.
Yeah, so let's take a look. While these two Lickitungs battle it out, let's take a look, see if we can peek into the future a little bit. We see the Shadow Alolan Sand Slash on both teams, and then we have a Medicham and a Lantern. So I think alignment is going to be really key here. Nighttime Clasher is really going to want to keep that Shadow Alolan Sand Slash away from the Medicham of Teddy Bear.
No, absolutely, and he brought it in game 1 as well. Teddy Bear leans on that Medicham heavily. Nighttime Clasher needs to recall that. He needs to pick up on player tendencies, recognize there's Medicham in the back, and if you're Teddy Bear, you're hoping you can fly right under the radar and sneak that Medicham through, because it would be very useful if it finds that alignment.
Yeah, the Lickitungs now, we are getting towards the end, like maybe Act 3 or so of the mirror match of these best buddy Lickitungs dueling it out. And we have the next Body Slam coming through. So each Pokemon, we need one charge move to KO. They reach it at the same time, but Nighttime Clasher's Lickitung wins the charge move priority and is going to knock out from the one on the side of Teddy Bear.
And that's critical, right? That's what we talked about. Now we have Medicham coming in. Going to get a slight energy lead. I think it will get the knockout before Lickitung can strike with another Body Slam. About 4 or 5 counters worth of energy. In comes Lantern, though. And this is definitely the Pokemon you want to line up if you're a Nighttime Clasher.
Yeah, because you, exactly. So we have that Lantern, finding the alignment, finding the right Pokemon where you want it to be. Lantern wants to avoid the drill runs coming from the Shadow Alolan Sand Slash. However, Medicham can really pack a punch to this Lantern as well. If Teddy Bear can predict that there's a Shadow Alolan Sand Slash in the back and can keep the Medicham healthy, could potentially still be able to be leveraged in that back matchup.
I think you need a shield here, right? If you're Nighttime Clasher, this is too much Medicham to chew through. Those double super effective counters would deal too much damage to you. Sand Slash, this is what I was worried about, though. The defense fall makes this matchup really precarious. The saving grace here might be that it happens so late in this matchup, allowing Lantern to get to the move. Here we see the fast swap into the Shadow Alolan Sand Slash, counter swap into the Sand Slash from Nighttime Clasher. Shadow Claw versus Powder Snow, and this Teddy Bear Sand Slash is ahead on energy. This is looking really tough for Clasher.
Yeah, it's just that one fast move, that 1 second that of advantage that Teddy Bear has. Teddy Bear has to decide, is this a bait? Is this the drill run? He has to shield it, and does, losing no shields left in play. Now these Sandslash are on the same pacing, but the one on the side of Nighttime Clasher wins the charge move priority. 3, 2, 1, boom! On the other side, Teddy Bear's Pokemon clears off the field, and then Medicham trying to chew its way through, but just is not able to. Nighttime Clasher takes this one 2-0.
Yeah, only potential win condition in the very final moments of that was to counter down that Shadow Lone Sandslash and land a charge attack against that final Pokemon. But Nighttime Clasher with a 2-0 victory, kind of tiptoeing the line there in several different situations, but finds his win conditions. I really think landing the superpower in Game 1, getting that decisive victory with 2 shields in your back pocket, I think that gave Nighttime Clasher a lot of confidence that he carried over into that decisive game number 2.
And now Nighttime Clasher is on a roll. He has the momentum here in the loser's side of the bracket, and he will go to await his opponent in the loser's finals. Is one step away from punching his ticket to the grand finals.
This is that superpower that we keep on talking about. It's so nice. Let's replay it twice. Here comes superpower from the Shadow Dragonite. Double super effective. Nighttime Clasher says, see you later. And in comes the Medicham. Now he does deal a lot of damage here with the Dragon Breaths. Does get off the Dragon Claw as well. That flying typing from Shadow Dragonite helps it to hang in there even in lieu of the debuff.
Yes, and here we have the Medicham being cleared from the field of play in that first game. Moving on to the second game, Teddy Bear going for the Psychic, wanting to clear the Lantern off the field, but Nighttime Clasher deciding, I need to keep this Lantern around. Like you said, Speedy, it's too much Medicham.
Yeah.
There's too much Medicham on the other side. I can't chew through it with my Shadow Alolan Sandslash. I need to chip away at it. So Teddy Bear, now that the Medicham is soften up, now we can move, and here it is. Here's the bait. Nighttime Clasher knowing Teddy Bear has to shield.
Yeah, that was the call of this whole tournament for Teddy Bear. He needed to make that call on the bait, and the reason is, right, because you're running Powder Snow versus Shadow Claw, your energy generation is just a little bit different. Nighttime Clasher's only win condition was to get the Ice Punch bait, charge attack priority tie with the drill run, and give himself a chance there. That was his only possible win condition, and it still came down to just one counter difference. If you get the knockout there and you can load up at least an Ice Punch, you can still KO the Lantern. So that came very, very close, as so many of these matches this weekend have.
Yes, this has been an incredibly exciting tournament here in Peoria, Illinois. Nighttime Clasher, again, this is his 4th top cut in a row, looking for that spot in the grand finals. You were saying he just was stuck. He would get to day 2 and then just couldn't win a game. But here he has broken through, and he is one step away from that grand finals matchups. He is now waiting his opponent. Who will it be in the losers finals? We have 2 trainers who will be coming up next. We have King Alexander and S. James P, who have been sitting and cooling off. Let's take a little bit of a look here in the bracket. So King Alexander defeating Nighttime Clasher, S. James P defeating Teddy Bear. These 2 we are up next will be the winners finals. Winner will move on to the grand finals. Loser is going to drop down into the loser side of the bracket to face Nighttime Clasher. We can see Nighttime Clasher had to defeat both RockHaven and Teddy Bear, having many more matches today, and is now awaiting his opponent.
Yeah, if I had to describe these 2 trainers in our winner's side of the bracket, King Alexander was very sure of himself. He was very confident in his approach to the earlier games that we saw, was able to take that 2-1 victory. If those 2 meet again, that will be a rematch. Give Nighttime Clasher another opportunity to try to take down King Alexander. But meanwhile, S. James P was very calculated. He kind of pushed against the odds and really had to dig deep to beat that Mandibuzz from his opponent. He really had to find creative ways, deploy energy in unique circumstances. Remember landing the foul play against the Venusaur, then coming in with the Frostlass and pressuring it with the Powder Snows? He was creating win conditions out of thin air. I really think S. James P has something special, and we're going to see how he fares against King Alexander.
Exactly. For both of these trainers, this is their first top cut. Remember, for S. James P, this is his first official tournament on the circuit. Certainly no stranger to Go Battle League, certainly no stranger to Grassroots, but here at Play Pokemon in the Championship Series, this is the first official tournament. And then King Alexander, this is his third tournament, but has yet to break into that top cut. So this is a very new experience for both of these trainers sitting here in the winners finals.
Well, I think a lot of it is success in Go Battle League, right? It's Go Battle League weekend this weekend, so you can definitely play a lot more matches than usual. But trainers like Uzoukwu and S. James P, who have found a lot of success in Go Battle League, they're transferring those basic mechanical skills, those really intricate and detailed, processes that you have to work through mentally. They're translating all that over into the Show 6, Bring 3 format, which is the Championship Series, and it's actually translated really well. You can tell technically S. James P and Uzoukwu, in my opinion, are probably two of the better, more calculated and talented technical trainers in the tournament this weekend.
Yeah, but there are some key differences, right? Then Go Battle League, you have you're going in without knowing what your opponent is going to bring. Here in the official circuit, you have that opportunity. You can think about how you can best leverage your team, and that's a different level of strategy. And having to prepare for so many different Pokemon throughout the whole tournament run, and then narrowing it in as you approach and you get further in the tournament.
Yeah, there's a lot of finer details you have to pick up on, and how you approach teams is going to vary. You can bring the same 6 Pokemon and bring entirely different trios as you move through each of these battles. But speaking of moving through things, we have many more regionals on the way. Let's take a look here. Our next stop is in Sacramento, and you don't have to wait very long. It's actually next weekend. We will be in Sacramento, California for that regional championship. Then we have a week off where our trainers over in Europe will be throwing down in Lille in France. And then at the last weekend of the month, Toronto, Canada is where we are headed for the final regional. I believe that's like Halloween weekend as well. Might be some spooky vibes, so if you like these broadcasts, you might want to tune into that one in particular.
Definitely. So October, absolutely jam-packed from start to finish. However, that is all building up to the Latin American International Championships in Sao Paulo. We have lots more North American tournaments in between. We'll have the European International Championships, the North American International Championships in June, finally moving to Honolulu, Hawaii for the World Championships later in the summer.
Yeah, each trainer's journey is unique, but all roads lead to Worlds in Honolulu, Hawaii. It's going to be a fantastic experience for all the trainers that get there. And now this season, Decisive, there's so many different ways to get there. You don't have to just win a regional championship, win an international championship. You can play in your local cups and challenges, gain those championship points, reach the thresholds, and qualify for Worlds that way as well. So it gives these trainers like S. James P and King Alexander even more to fight for. They want that higher placement. They want more championship points so they can expedite their access to Worlds this year.
And it is incredibly exciting. So be sure you're using the Pokemon website out there to look for locals near you to be able to work on your championship points yourself. And if you can, be sure take a look at that roadmap of regionals to be able to find the closest one to you and come out and participate. It's a great way to meet new people and get some great Pokemon at these events. But we have on the field of battle, we have our 2 trainers looking ready to go here. We have our winners finals. Reminder, winners finals is a best of 5. So we have King Alexander, this first top cut for both trainers. This is his 3rd tournament. We have the Frostlass, the Superior, and then Lantern, a regular Gligar, Medicham, and Lickitung. Love that team composition from King Alexander.
Yeah, very powerful team composition. I still think the meta is getting settled, but I do think King Alexander is kind of drawing all the best aspects of the top usage charts. S. James P, as we pointed out a few times already this weekend, first tournament appearance in the Championship Series. He's got Swampert, Umbreon, Frostlass, Shadow Gligar, as well as Medicham and Lickitung. Reminder that Shadow Gligar is going to hit just a little bit harder than its non-Shadow counterpart, which could help S. James P to kind of close the gap in some of these closer matchups.
Yes, and I gotta say it again. It's a best of 5. We are now in marathons. It is a different mindset that you go into these battles when you know how many are ahead of you. Who will remain on top? King Alexander, S. James P. We have a Lantern and a Lickitung.
Generally a pretty neutral lead. I would give the slight edge to S. James P as he's able to land these super effective power whips, but this is also Water Gun Lantern as well, so they're going to pace at relatively the same rate. However, these water guns will add up a lot quicker. Making the counter swap into Medicham doesn't get a catch, and we see the counter swap into Frostlass.
I love hearing Frostlass's cry as it bursts onto the battlefield, and Frostlass deciding I can tank any move that Medicham throws at me. I don't need to shield this one right away. No defense drop, so Frostlass comfortably being able to build up a lot of energy before going for that decisive charge move. Will King Alexander protect the Medicham? Yes, that Shadow Ball would be devastating. Chooses to protect it, is at the Ice Punch. S. James P making a decision. It would be tough to watch all of that energy go down the drain, so decides to keep the Frostlass around to be able to take one more shot at knocking out the Medicham. Throws a couple extra Powder Snows, allowing the Frostlass to get really low in health. So once the next Pokemon comes in, it won't be able to garner a lot of energy off Frostlass.
No, I mean, that was beautifully said, right? Because the Lantern does have Water Gun, and he brings in the Superior actually to get a 1 Vine Whip lead. Now, S. James is thinking about the first Pokemon he saw. It was a Water Gun Lantern. He has energy on Lickitung. He's going to go ahead and bring in the Umbreon here. Umbreon, I think I would give the slight edge in this matchup as it draws on. However, Frenzy Plant is going to hit really hard from the Superior, so S. James needs to be careful.
He does. Also, again, Umbreon has that 3-turn fast move of Snarl. It's a little slower. It gives King Alexander a few more opportunities to perhaps make a catch, make a swap. It's a little harder to do when your turn, you're in a longer turn duration.
Yeah, exactly right. Foul Play does connect into the Superior. We're going to see another Foul Play, but first, the Frenzy Plant from the Superior. No protection here from S. James. What this tells us is that he is confident his Umbreon can withstand all these Vine Whips. Actually going to make a combo play out into Lickitung and gather some more energy and then throw the Body Slam. This is not quite enough though, DeFi. I think he's going to have to use a Protect Shield if he wants to preserve Lickitung's HP.
Let's see that, yeah, the Superior comfortably can handle that Body Slam, but S. James P already at a second Body Slam. Does King Alexander want to be able to throw this Frenzy Plant? Yes. Decides this energy is worth it to shield and be able to throw. I'm either going to get the Lickitung really down in health, or I'm going to be able to pull this last shield away.
Well, think about what this means for the back line. King Alexander gave up his final protection, which means the Power Whips are going to come through. You cannot deny them. Actually going for the charge attack priority on a 1-turn fast attack after 3 switches. King Alexander is seeing with X-ray vision. He knows where this Lickitung's energy is at.
Yeah, so knows this is a Power Whip coming through from the Lickitung. This is going to do a lot of super effective damage. However, it's not enough to even put Lantern down into the red. Tries to make maybe a catch, but actually ends up going for the combo play of the foul play from the Umbreon onto the Lantern.
Oh.
Lantern sticks around and actually throwing a couple water guns before throwing the Surf.
Yeah.
Actually an undercharge.
Look at the patience here from King Alexander, getting the double water guns like you said, allowing the Snarl down and trying to gather some more energy on his Superior. This is his last Pokemon, his last hope. Umbreon gets KO'd, Lickitung comes out. These are the final 2 Pokemon on the field. Now it's a race. Aerial Ace versus Body Slam, and the Superior gets to it, clutching up this game number 1 of the best of 5 series.
I think that undercharge is something we need to talk about a little.
Oh no, it doesn't!
Stays on. Oh my goodness.
Oh, a last gasp, right? Like if you're watching a scary movie and the hand reaches up from the ground to grab your ankle, almost doesn't get the win there. King Alexander and S. James can't believe it.
Yep, I think there are 2 moments in that battle that are very good and worth rewatching. My goodness, that undercharge was huge. Knowing that he needed an extra Vine Whip of energy on the Umbreon to be able to get to that next move, to be able to knock out the Lickitung. Maybe what King Alexander wasn't expecting was for the Aerial Ace to not quite be enough, and you needed 1 additional Vine Whip. My goodness.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I think King Alexander is just experiencing life in 0.5 speed. He can count the 1-turn fast attacks. He can find the charge attack priority with his Lantern and Lickitung, and now we even see that 1 Vine Whip being critical. S. James thinks the game is over. He looks down at his phone. Does he miss a tap? Is he a little bit slow here? Is he going to look for it? Oh, he gets the lick, and he misses the Body Slam there because the Vine Whip damage does apply.
My goodness, that was so close. You talk about being on the razor's edge.
Yeah.
That was so close. I don't think King Alexander is going to like overestimate those aerial aces ever again.
Right? My goodness, that was absolutely insane. But that's only game 1 of this best of 5, and you kind of alluded to this going into the series, Tifa'i, but a best of 5 is so different than a best of 3. Typically, King Alexander would only need to win 1 more game. He's got to win 2 more games against S. James, and I really think S. James has found ways in the past to grind matchups out and create win conditions. Heading right into game number 2, though, this is a stellar lead for King Alexander. He's got his Frostlass versus Medicham.
Frostlass loves seeing Medicham out in the lead. We see the swap into the Umbreon. Umbreon very comfortable in this matchup. We see King Alexander being patient, saying, if I'm going to swap out, I'm going to wait. I know Umbreon's not going to get to a move right away. I can bank up a little bit of energy first before bringing in his own Medicham. Medicham having a dominant lead in this matchup. However, King Alexander's is running that Psychic, so the Dynamic Punch would make this a very clean and away victory. Here, the Umbreon can get to quite a few foul plays. Medicham still tends to come out on top in these matchups, but it takes a lot of the Medicham's health to do it.
No, you're exactly right. I could see a situation where King Alexander is forced to give up a Protect Shield against this Umbreon in a matchup that should be dominant for the Medicham. Those foul plays do pace out really quickly. Ice Punch will connect here. I expect S. James to throw 1 more Snarl and then try to attempt for maybe a double foul play here. You're going to take 2 counters every time you Snarl. That's just the nature of a 3-turn Snarl versus 2-turn counter. He's trying to budget his HP and get to 1 more charge attack.
Yes, this is a very tight matchup. He's depend on a lot of HP. Bringing in the Frostlass, trying to get a little bit of extra, but here is the Lantern. Lantern is not afraid of the fast moves coming from the Frostlass, just has to watch out for the Shadow Balls. Going for the Surf is going to be second. Frostlass, very few Pokemon can outcharge move priority of Frostlass. It has an incredibly high attack stat, and you can see it there with how much damage the Shadow Ball did.
But again, King Alexander, I mean, he's just finding all these charge attack priorities at will. Very impressive to watch him work. That Surf is going to hurt that Frostlass quite a bit. Looking for another Shadow Ball. S. James able to clutch it up. This might steal away a Protect Shield, but if you recall, I do think King Alexander knows that Medicham is the 3rd Pokemon for S. James.
Yes, so knowing the Medicham is in the back, or predicting the Medicham is in the back, Frostlass can get lots of energy. So Frostlass now has 2 shields. We talked about it before. Frostlass with shields and energy. There is very little that you can do against it. I think S. James already looking a little frustrated because that Shadow Ball is going to come through. Frostlass looking to Powder Snow down. I think S. James here is conceding the match, recognizing the Umbreon. There's not enough the Umbreon can do. There's just not enough gas in the tank, especially with 2 shields. King Alexander shaking it off, thinking, all right, I've got 2, but it is not over yet. King Alexander needs a 3rd win to lock this up and punch his way into the grand finals.
Yeah, we saw S. James be kind of dismissive of that final moment of that, the final moments of that game 2. The reason is he's just giving his energy to game 3, right? He's making notes, he's thinking about what to do next. He needs to win 3 games in a row to reverse sweep this series. And we see no Protect Shield here. S. James really bending the knee to King Alexander, says, you're so far ahead in this matchup. There's so many things that need to go right for me to win that against an elite trainer like yourself, it's just not going to happen. So I definitely think kind of closing this matchup out, allowing it to kind of tick down and put his energy towards something he actually has control of, which is game 3.
Yes, speaking of control, King Alexander, complete control of that 2nd game. Just took control early and did not let it go, especially from the get-go, putting Frostlass in the lead. Typically, you might see it in the back or on the swap, so having it in the lead there to counter the Medicham, just a really dominant opener, and then just not giving S. James an inch. Let's see if we can change it up here. It's a lick-a-tongue mirror, Speedy.
It's a lick-a-tongue mirror, right back where we've been a few other times in the stream. But that being said, this could be a decisive game 3. King Alexander needs this victory in order to move into the grand finals. Meanwhile, S. James needs to start to take steps to come back in this series. He needs to win 3 games straight. There is no more room for errors.
Not at all. So Lickitung Mirror, we've talked about it. We've seen it play out a couple times on this stream. We are not seeing any fast move damage. We're actually going to see a swap. King Alexander sacrificing switch advantage to perhaps chip away at this Lickitung, maybe recognizing that this Lickitung's bulk is a bit dangerous.
We have seen S. James lean on his Frost Blast quite a bit. I'm curious why we haven't seen the switch out quite yet. S. James might be kind of predicting something in the back, but after seeing Lantern in Game 2, I definitely think that should be floating around in his head as well, top of mind. Here we see the Psychic from the Medicham. I would not be shocked. Actually, I was going to say Protect Shield would probably come up here, but no. S. James lets it through.
Yeah, so the Psychic is going to come through. Will we see another defense drop? No, but it's not going to take very many counters to get the Lickitung down and out. So S. James throwing the Body Slam before that can happen, clearing the Medicham off the field. But now this is a couple fast moves worth of energy that either the Lickitung or the Lantern can come in for. We can see S. James reaching for the Umbreon, so that doesn't happen.
So the thing is, right, if you want to use Umbreon to counter the Lickitung, you would just let Lickitung faint. But now you've got Lantern on the field versus the Umbreon. No switch is going to be available for a long time for S. James, so he builds in the double foul plays in case there's a switch out. If you are King Alexander, you're in a pretty good position, but S. James needs to do something creative here. He's got Frost Ice in the back, and as far as I can see it, there aren't many places for it to go.
No, that fast move damage from Lickitung just eats away at Frost Blast. Frost Blast melts under that fast move pressure of the Lickitung. So it is going to be a challenge for S. James to work his way through this. Umbreon, I agree. Umbreon's really looking for that Lickitung on the other side. So I was surprised to see maybe just thinking that doesn't want to give whatever Pokemon, doesn't want to give them free fast move, doesn't want to give them free energy. But here, I think that's its switch advantage was more important.
If I could guess, I think S. James is calling either, Medicham, Superior, or Gligar in the back. He says it's probably going to be, one of those three Pokemon, but unfortunately, it was the Lantern. So this is a really tough position for him to be in. As these two bulky Pokemon kind of duke it out, our switch timers have now expired, giving S. James the chance to switch into his Lickitung and absorb a charge attack if he decides to. But it looks pretty tough at this point in the matchup. Switching into the Lickitung, getting the Body Slam off. I don't think this is quite enough. S. James doesn't either. He lets it through.
Yeah, so saving you gotta save that shield for Frost Blast. Frost Blast without a shield is tough. So Frost Blast getting that, trying to get a little bit of an energy advantage. But look, you can already see the ice on Frost Blast melting away. The fast move pressure is so tough. S. James being deciding not to shield here, letting that power whip through, that is crucial. Lickitung really going to be looking to just apply a lot of fast move pressure here. King Alexander throwing the Body Slam onto the Frost Blast, peeling that last shield away. Frost Blast at double avalanche now. It's going to go first. However, King Alexander has a shield left. So next, I think that was charge move priority. I think the Body Slam is going to come through.
S. James needed, he needed that to not be charge tag priority, but it was. King Alexander again, X-ray vision, finding these charge tag priorities, reaching them, getting the knockout. Lickitung is poised to sweep here. Umbreon doesn't have the energy. This Licks are resisted. Going for the foul play. Does reach to the foul play, but I don't think this is quite enough to knock out. This Lickitung is just too much. I think it's going to just span all the way through these three Pokemon in the back.
Yeah, and the Lickitung also, SGP's Lickitung is just too low on energy, too low on health. And with a 3-0 sweep of the winners finals, King Alexander here will move on to the grand finals.
Yeah, King Alexander, a commanding sweep of S. James with a 3-0 victory in this series. A little bit of a delayed sportsmanship there, but we got it. We got it done. That was a very, very impressive set by both trainers. S. James unable to create those win conditions like he did earlier on in the season. Really, in the tournament, I should say, really finding a tough matchup in King Alexander. And if you're King Alexander going into the grand finals, a 3-0 victory is one heck of a way to get there. I'm sure he is feeling like he's at the top of his game.
Yes, but he's got to wait on that momentum. He doesn't have it yet. He has to wait to see who his opponent is going to be. Will it be S. James P or will it be Nighttime Clasher? Let's take a quick look at King Alexander's commanding victory.
Yeah, this is that single Vine Whip on Superior. It doesn't feel like much, but then when you fast forward to the end of the game, you say, my goodness, that single Vine Whip made all the difference. The aerial ace connects. Lickitung barely hangs on, needs another lick though, and gets KO'd by the Vine Whip. Meanwhile, this is game 2. S. James realizing that he's just too far behind, allows a Shadow Ball through and bends the knee here, giving his opponent the game 2 victory.
Yes, and then game 3, equally commanding. King Alexander just takes victory, takes that positive, takes that advantage, and just doesn't give S. James P an inch to maneuver. We've seen a lot of trainers today make some very creative, like making win conditions where there are none. King Alexander didn't give S. James that opportunity.
No, absolutely not. I'm really impressed with the timing and the situational awareness of King Alexander. A lot of trainers get lost in the sauce when we count these one-turn fast attacks, but King Alexander just has like radar or something. He just knows when these charge attack priorities are coming, and you saw there, S. James really needed that Lickitung to be just one lick away. If it was, he gets the second avalanche, he gets the knockout, gives himself a chance, but King Alexander slams the door.
Exactly, and we actually saw at the very end of the battle, this was actually close to a timeout as well.
Yeah.
I think that's something we're going to see more and more with these bulky Lickitungs, bulky Umbreons being brought to these play Pokemon tournaments. We're seeing every second possible of these battles.
I think something to look forward to as well is that S. James falls to that loser's bracket where he will take on Nighttime Clasher. He has a chance, right? If S. James can beat Nighttime Clasher, he can have another shot at King Alexander. And these trainers are so good, so talented. You don't want to give them second opportunities because they will find ways to turn those into victories. So I'm going to be really interested to see how that matchup shakes out. And meanwhile, Nighttime Clasher has gone from not winning a single round in day 2 to making it all the way to the loser's final. So we want that streak to keep going for him as well. I can't pick a favorite, right? It's going to be a really fun matchup.
Exactly. So one Pokemon that is at 100% usage this weekend. Every Top Cut team has it. That's Medicham. Let's take a closer look. If you at home want to build a Medicham for yourself and bring it to a regional championship tournament, let's go ahead and listen to some tips.
All right, trainers, let's take a deep breath and now exhale. My name is Will Dunphy, and it's time for us to meditate on why Medicham is the premier fighting type Pokemon in the Play Pokemon Championship Series. Medicham is a fighting and psychic type Pokemon. Since the inception of Pokemon Go PvP, it has been a staple of the Great League meta, thanks to its great stats and unique type combination. Trainers will need to power up their Medichams all the way to level 50 to maximize their competitive potential. Medicham has access to 2 viable fast attacks, Counter and Psycho Cut. Both of these fast attacks benefit from Medicham's same type attack bonus, but most trainers opt to use Counter due to its unmatched combination of damage output and energy generation. What makes this Pokemon so dynamic is its ability to learn a variety of charge attacks. Medicham's role on your team will change depending on the charge attacks that you decide to teach it. For example, most trainers teach their Medicham Psychic and Ice Punch. Psychic equips Medicham with a hard-hitting charge attack that can easily defeat Poison-type opponents. Ice Punch provides valuable coverage against Flying-type Pokemon as well as Grass and Ground types. However, a Medicham with this moveset cannot so easily defeat Steel-type opponents because Steel resists both of these charge attacks. Therefore, you may choose to teach your Medicham a Fighting-type charge attack, like Power Up Punch or Dynamic Punch. Power Up Punch gradually increases the strength of all of Medicham's attacks, and can be used in conjunction with Ice Punch or Psychic to deliver increased damage. Alternatively, Dynamic Punch can serve as a devastating knockout blow to unsuspecting Normal, Dark, and Steel-type opponents. Here is an example of a winning team composition that features Medicham, Purified Sableye, Lickitung, Azumarill, Trevenant, Medicham, and Galarian Stunfisk. In the Championship Series, Pokemon like Trevenant, Sableye, Azumarill, and Alola Ninetales are Medicham's most challenging opponents. This team composition uses Purified Sableye and Lickitung to defeat Ghost-type Pokemon, and also has the necessary bulk and coverage to defeat Fairy-type Pokemon as well. Medicham honed its incredible strength through prolonged meditation, and just like Medicham, a Pokemon Master's training is never finished. Let's power up our Medichams and hone our battle skills. And before we start, let's remember to take a deep breath in, hold, and let it out. You've got this.
Welcome back to Championship Sunday in Peoria. We have our final two matchups. We have the losers finals and then the grand finals. Both of these trainers are trying to get a rematch because they both lost to King Alexander. Let's actually look at that bottom side of the bracket to see both of these trainers' journeys to this losers finals.
Yeah, King Alexander, definitely a dark horse pick. You can see, looking at their journey here, Nighttime Clasher getting knocked out a little bit earlier, taking out RockHaven, the Carbink Master, and then 2-0 against Teddy Bear, a previous Worlds qualified competitor, and now getting a chance to face off against S. James P, who was just dropped down to the losers bracket after an undefeated run so far here in Peoria. And we can take a look at that winners bracket on how these two trainers got there, because all three of these remaining trainers were in the winner side originally. King Alexander 2-1 against Nighttime Clasher, 3-0 against S. James P. King Alexander is on a roll and is just chilling in this grand finals waiting for the next competitor, and it's going to be S. James P. or Nighttime Clasher. What a performance from King Alexander. I believe first time ever top cut and already putting on an absolute show here.
Yeah, and how about the team too? It's literally no shadows, like you mentioned. It's the top 5 Pokemon in usage pretty much, and then the Frostlass as that core breaker, the signature Pokemon. So it felt like this tournament, anything could happen, but in the end, it was the strongest Pokemon, but then that precise signature pick, Frostlass, that's been giving a lot of teams trouble. And these two trainers are gonna try to battle it out. They both went down on the winner's side of the bracket to King Alexander, and now they will be facing each other for the chance to go to the grand finals. And just a quick reminder, it's not like it was last season, because the trainer waiting in the grand finals had already qualified for the World Championships, right? Only one trainer will qualify for 2024 in Honolulu. That will be the grand champion. So any one of these trainers could still do it.
And there's a lot to fight for. So unlike last year though, third place got nothing at a regional. Now you still get a lot of championship points. So even the loser of this upcoming matchup is still going to take home some championship points to add to their total. So it's kind of a win-win situation in many respects, but these trainers are competitive and they're here to win it. They want the title as well in that instant qualification of World Championships. And let's not forget that first place medal is a nice shining one for sure. And I was getting flashbacks of Dialab Churn last year in, I believe, Vancouver, bringing that water gun lantern and putting in so much work with it. A lot of people were running Spark before, but water gun lantern really opened the doorway for so many matchups. Last year it was Galarian Stunfisk. This year it's going to be Gligar, and still fairly strong even into Swampert. Not the greatest at Swampert Lancer Earthquake, but if you start shielding the Earthquake, it becomes a different story. And you saw SJC just struggled with that Water Gun Lantern, and it's so bulky too. He's probably very grateful that it's actually going to be a Spark Lantern he's facing right now in this losers finals. But Nighttime Clasher, like you said, one of the most consistent players this season. I mean, even coming in from last season too, really making a name for himself. You can tell he's been putting in the work every single week, and every regional he goes to, he gets better and better. And I believe this is the furthest he's ever gotten in any tournaments, but he's looking for more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he has gotten, this is his 4th top cut in a row, and just to go off that, he's tied for 7th in Fresno, he tied for 9th at North American International Championships, and then tied for 5th in Pittsburgh. So getting into these losers finals is a huge step forward in his road to the World Championships. And he does have that Lantern. We actually talked to him yesterday. He thinks Lantern is the best Pokemon in Open Great League right now. I thought that was the case at the World Championships, but there was a switch up in Adventures of Bound where Spark generates less energy now, but it does more damage, and it really has not affected the Spark Lantern at all. But like you mentioned, there's no Water Gun Lantern, which was so tough for S. James in that last matchup versus King Alexander. But for Night Clasher, as we break down these two teams, the Spark Lantern is looking pretty good still. Yes, it's worse against that Shadow Gligar, but you can still battle back with Surf.
Yeah, it is going to be a little bit worse than the SJMC, but still being very strong. I do think, though, SJMC will be having a better handle on the Spark Lantern instead. We're going to see how that plays out. We're getting to the first game here of this loser finals. It's going to be Frostlass into Medicham, a fantastic lead for SJMC.
Frostlass has looked so good in Peoria so far, and now the Lantern is going to be that safe swap. There's no clear answer because there is no Shadow Gligar on the team for S. James, so you're just staying in, you're enduring the Surf. Maybe you'll throw a Shadow Ball. No, actually just decided to soak up that damage and then swap in the Umbreon, which is a great answer to that Lantern that is a little bit damaged.
Yeah, SJC struggling a little bit with the Water Gun Lantern. Let's see if he's able to handle the Spark Lantern. So far, this Lantern is looking super strong into S. James P's team too, not bringing either Ground type nor the Lickitung. So really, these are the three worst matchups S. James could have brought up into this Lantern. So Lantern looking super strong for Nighttime Clasher. Umbreon, though, super bulky and typically able to win in even shield situations.
One thing that I've seen often in Umbreon in particular is that trainers will get up to double foul play energy and then absorb an attack, and that actually doesn't give you the opportunity to get the proper turn alignment that you need, because then you over farm energy to 100. So I want to see if S. James actually throws this foul play first as the Thunderbolt goes through, and at this point the Lantern is low, so you do want to farm a little bit before the Surf. That was fantastic timing there, and now this will knock out the Lantern. It actually picks up a Protect Shield here, but almost at the next Surf, but almost at the next foul play as well, but you get to that Surf first.
This is a big shield from Nighttime Clasher. Nighttime Clasher doesn't know the exact backline of S. James, but he is making a prediction. And if he just gives up alignment, oh, S. James actually giving up alignment. This is actually huge because now you don't have to worry about that Medicham locked in.
Oh, doesn't get the Surf though.
But gets a full countdown. And Nighttime Clasher's actually running the Dynamic Punch Medicham, so he's actually in a pretty tough spot. And here comes the combo play of the Shadow Ball. You have to shield here.
You're gonna get the last Protect Shield of the game unless you think it's a bait. No, the last Protect Shield of the game, you have to swap out into your Shadow Lone Sandslash. And yes, you can get a full Shadow Claw down, but you're gonna have to take a Shadow Ball.
So you can't Shadow Claw down.
It is the Powder Snow variant, yes. Yeah, so you have to go for a Drill Run. This is actually terrible, and it's a no Protect Shield, but you're just giving a ramp, you're just giving a runway for this Medicham to just get energy. At least it's gonna probably get energy capped.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That is the one, benefit here, but energy cap Medicham into a Dynamic Punch Medicham is not a great spot to be in, especially when you're down all shields. You can see Nighttime Clasher already saying the GGs before the Lone Sandslash even came out. He knows this is a tough situation to be in, and, this is the biggest downside of Dynamic Punch Medicham. It is not a fun feeling to be in.
Yeah, so then you're basically running two Pokemon that lose the Medicham, and then Lantern. You're very soft to Medicham, and as we know, Medicham is on every single team here, and that's why I love this Frostlass pick, because instead of the Ice type like Shadow Lone Sandslash, where you hard lose, as that Psychic doesn't do enough, looks like Nighttime Clasher's not gonna throw a charge attack. S. James from the 0-3 in that last set flips up the momentum, takes game number 1 of the series versus Nighttime Clasher.
He needed that win for sure. Really get back and warmed up. You can see he was probably a little discouraged after that tough matchup against King Alexander, but he needs to get 2 more wins for that rematch to get back to that grand finals. He is 1 game closer to that.
Yeah, and in this situation, I talked about it just now, but Frostlass being so much better than Shadow Lone Sandslash versus Medicham is just huge. And you see this in the back line. There's Medichams on both teams. There's 2 Ice types on both teams, but one takes double super effective from counters and one single resisted. And this was crucial to get that last Protect Shield out of the game. And then, yes, now the Shadow Lone Sandslash has come in, and then you just give a runway to your own Medicham.
Yeah, Yeah, it was, you know, Olon Sanchez forced to throw, couldn't even get the Shadow Call down. Would have been a little bit better of a play, but unfortunately not able to do it. So really great stuff from S. James P in that first game, as both trainers are already getting their way into game number 2, and they're ready to go. They're wasting
double
no time.
switches because both the timers are down. So we don't know what the leads were. Can we see if there's any health loss? There's a health loss on the Medicham. Yeah, so it looks like Medicham probably won the lead on Nighttime Clasher, and then S. James safe swapped his own Medicham, and then in response, Nighttime Clasher brought in his Lantern.
Yeah, and this Lantern is proving to be a problem for S. James P. S. James P really not bringing the ground types at all, really just saying, you know what, I'm just going to play out these neutral matchups instead. I mean, Frostlass is not amazing into Lantern, but it still can hit hard with the Shadow Ball, so it has some play. It doesn't get completely walled off. And it worked really well for S. James in game number 1. Let's see if it works out for game number 2. It looks like the Surf is going to be reached, though. Nighttime Clasher has the chance to win switch advantage. Is that going to be what he's going to do? And no, S. James is going to preserve that. So I think it was probably a Frostlass lead into a Medicham, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think that's right. And then you safe swap your own Medicham, and now this Medicham did win the alignment because used 2 Protect Shields against that Lantern. Nighttime Clasher only used 1, but now you get this Psychic off, and there is no Protect Shield from Nighttime Clasher, and gets the counter down here, but the Frostlass can soak all of this energy because there is no Psychic. It is Ice Punch, Dynamic Punch, and yes, the Shadow Lowland Sand Slash in this situation is stronger because against the Umbreon, it won't be resisted on its fast attack. And a swap!
Yeah, catching the drill run. Either way, this is still a good move, but S. James wanted to lead with some energy first because he knows he has no shields, so he needs some energy to handle this Medicham. However, Powder Snow alone Sand Slash is not too bad into this Umbreon because you're doing neutral damage with the Powder Snow. You don't need to win this matchup. You just need to be able to counter down the Umbreon and come out with 2 Dynamic Punch.
Yeah, and you need 2 attacks here. Can you get to both of the attacks before Foul Play is available? That will be huge. This one won't do it, but I think you can Drill Run and Ice Punch. That will probably be enough to knock out the Umbreon. Let's see the dimensions. Oh, it'll be really close. Do you have to commit? And look, the Foul Play is there right before the Ice Punch was available. You can't give up a Protect Shield here. You can't leave your Medicham vulnerable, so Nighttime Clasher has to waste all of that energy.
Yeah, but I think it's still the right call, and the switch timer's not up yet, so this allows Nighttime to try to counter down and gets the full counter down. No Foul Play. Yes, there is an Avalanche loaded on the Frostlass, but you almost are at 2 Dynamic Punch. Dynamic Punch is resisted, but it is a hard-hitting move, and Frostlass is not the bulkiest Pokemon.
Single resisted. If this was a Psychic Medicham, you definitely would win this matchup because you should be able to get the double Psychic in time. I don't know if double Dynamic Punch can do it. This is going to be so close. You have to get the counter damage. You have to get the Dynamic Punch. You're at the Dynamic Punch. You have to throw before the Avalanche is available, and it all comes down to this for Nighttime Clasher. Can he knock out the Frostlass? No, it hangs on!
And just short too, and here comes the Avalanche. S. James P holding on here, 2-0. We need to see a reverse sweep from Nighttime Clasher for him to have a chance in this grand finals.
Frostlass looking so strong in the winners finals already in the grands finals, now in the losers finals, up 2-0 against Nighttime Clasher. And one Pokemon we haven't seen at all really from Nighttime Clasher is that Shadow Dragonite, because you keep showing Frostlass where are you gonna position the Shadow Dragonite, right? S. James is just bringing that game after game, and you know what? There's only one good counter to Frostlass on Nighttime Clasher's team. That is going to be the Lantern. Because you're running Powder Snow, Shadow Lone Sandslash, it's not a dominant win in that matchup.
It's not. I mean, there is the Lickitung too, but again, you still lose that zero shield situation, so it's not the cleanest of matchup. Alone Sandslash, though, does outpace to those Drill Run compared to the Shadow Ball on Frostlass, but like you said, with Powder Snow, you're doing resistance damage on both ends. And again, the limiting factor of Dynamic Punch, it just was not enough damage. But I gotta give it to Nighttime Clasher. For those that are watching home, you might not have noticed it. He threw that final Dynamic Punch at the very last chance. He threw it one Powder Snow before that Avalanche, and that shows his expertise in this game and how much he's improved over this past year. Because if you throw it any sooner, you don't maximize the amount of damage and counters you can get against the Frostlass. Nighttime getting as much as possible, putting the Frost Slash as low as possible before throwing that Diamond Punch. Unfortunately, just not enough. He needs a 3-0 here to come back. Can he do it? We're going to have to wait and see, and it's going to be the Lickitung into the Lantern.
And everything is on the line for Nighttime Clasher. You have to win this alignment. You're looking at the possibility of Shadow Dragonite into Frost Slash and Shadow Alolan Sandslash into Medicham. That will not work. Nighttime Clasher says Lantern is the best Pokemon in Open Great League. He's gonna need it to be the best Pokemon and win this alignment so he has a chance to win this game.
He does shield. That is a big shield there, but this Lantern needs to do so much. It not only needs to take out this Lickitung, it needs to take out both the Frost Slash and Medicham, because Medicham is actually pretty strong into Dragonite, especially up a shield. SJP is just going to let it go. Knows that he survives. Oh, and swapping in the Medicham, banking the energy. And now Nighttime is in an interesting position.
Because you can't swap.
Yeah, you can't swap. You don't want to shield the you don't want to shield the Ice Punch.
You're down a shield. You're down energy. You can't come into Shadow Dragonite, which is quote unquote your Medicham counter, but you can't do it because you'll get one hit knocked out by the Ice Punch. So you're forced to stay in here and absorb this Psychic, but this is okay still. Yep. You can just let the Lantern go down, and now this Medicham is a little more energy dry. It's more manageable for that Shadow Dragonite, but it's still going to be tough because the Medicham will outpace.
Medicham is, but this energy from Dragonite is still going to be pretty valuable because one Drill Run is not enough to take out the Frost Ice. You do need to tag team it a little bit, throw some additional damage from Dragonite. Let's see how on point Nighttime
I think you need the swap on the Ice Punch. I think you need the swap
on
the Ice Punch, and there it is!
What a savage! Catching the Ice Punch on from the Medicham, super well timed, and he knows SJP needs to throw this move, and now SJP is forced to swap in a Frost Slash into a Alolan Sandslash. It's not the best matchup, but yes, up a shield. Dragonite does have a move though.
Yes, but it's up a Protect Shield, lets the first one go. Is Shadow Alolan Sandslash in range of Shadow Ball? Can this Frost Slash knock out? But still, it's gonna get so low. You're gonna have to throw the Shadow Ball right here. Is this enough? Can you secure the knockout? I don't think it's gonna be enough, Caleb.
I don't think it's enough, and the Switch Timers won't be up for potential catch.
Oh, it's enough!
It was! But Dragonite's at trouble. Dragon Claw, I think. Oh, S-James shields.
But you have to.
Oh no, Lickitung has energy though. This is gonna be a tough situation.
But you have to Dragon Breath down. You have to Dragon Breath down. You have to Dragon Breath. No! But the Avalanche is available, and that means James P was able to 3-0 Nighttime Clasher to go on to the grand finals for a rematch against King Alexander.
SJP is not discouraged after going 0-3 against King Alexander in the winners finals. Comes back furious in that losers finals to go 3-0 himself against Nighttime Clasher. What a performance from SJP, and that is the win he needed. He didn't want to spend any additional time in that losers bracket. He wants to get that rematch as soon as possible, and he is going to earn that.
And Frost Slash has already been strong, but that was its stamp of approval, in my opinion, too. It was able to knock out that Shadow Alolan Sandslash with one Shadow Ball. Yes, it took an Ice Punch already. It took some double resisted Powder Stones. All that Shadow Alolan Sandslash took was double resisted Ice type attacks, and you still knocked it out. You got to the Avalanche to knock out that Shadow Dragonite. Frost Slash is a problem.
It is, and you can see it. Frost Slash in every single one of these games, causing such a problem for that Medicham because Medicham is not running Psychic, so it has to throw only resisted charge moves, which allows Frost Slash to get to so many moves in that matchup. Alolan Sandslash, Powder Snow too, also going to struggle. It seems like Frost Slash is winning in every one of these matchups outside the Lantern.
Yeah, and this is a key factor too, because I know that this Medicham hangs on here, but look, it's just a Dynamic Punch Medicham. It doesn't do anything. It didn't have anything to fight back against the opposing Medicham. Dynamic Punch has been so good in this meta, in my opinion, but in these matchups, when Medicham is just in every single game, it's really hard to deal with, especially when you technically have 2 to 3 weaknesses to Medicham with that Shadow Alolan Sandslash, your own Medicham, and the Lickitung.
Butters, I know we've been hyping up Dynamic Punch Medicham the entire weekend, but it looks like we have a grand finals with 2 Psychic Medicham, and it seems like having the coverage and safety of Psychic is proving to be more useful in the course of multiple battles despite the fact that Dynamic Punch Medicham has so many positive matchups.
Look at this Frostlass enduring that exact Dynamic Punch that you were talking about. It would have not hung on to the Psychic. The Psychic would have knocked out, but because of the choice from Nighttime Clasher, able to endure it. You said it already. Frostlass is the MVP in all of these replays. I mean, even in this situation, how about that catch, though? That was the only way that Nighttime had a chance to wiggle back in this game.
Yeah, and a fantastic catch. You can tell Nighttime Clasher, even in his losses, was playing so hard and trying to find the win conditions, but unfortunately just could not figure it out, especially against this pesky Frostlass. You can see trying to get the double Dragon Claw, but just was not able to do it.
You know, there was maybe one win condition. Do you think if the Lickitung was in range of one Dragon Breath? The Lickitung was so low. The one Dragon Breath will register because it's a one-turn fast attack before you could throw that Body Slam. So the only win condition there would have maybe been able to knock out that Lickitung with one Dragon Breath, but it's so tough. It's so hard to deal with, and there was 3 Pokemon remaining. I mean, everything's moving so fast. Everything is really tough in that in-game to be precise, and S. James was able to pretty much dominate that series on the back of Frostlass. And you were talking about the difference between Dynamic Punch and Psychic Medicham. I feel like if you run that Dynamic Punch Medicham, it's harder to run something like a Shadow Lone Sandslash because then you're double weak to Medicham. I feel like maybe if you were going to run that Dynamic Punch Medicham, you got to bring the Frostlass.
Yeah, I think so too. And, you know, I mean, we talked about how safe Lantern looked into S. James P's team, but that Medicham looks super safe into Nighttime Clasher's team. Your best check was a Lantern, right? And so there's just a lot of neutral checks that allows Medicham, especially with Psychic, to really thrive in that environment. Let's take a quick look at the bracket to see how we got to this point, because we are getting ready for that grand final. So you can see King Alexander completely undefeated in every round so far. 2-1 against Nighttime Clasher, 3-0 against S. James P, and now sitting in the grand finals with a 1-set advantage on the winner's side. S. James P, though, 2-1 against Teddy Bear, a previous Worlds qualified competitor, and then losing only to King Alexander, fought back in that losers finals 3-0 to earn himself a chance at this grand finals rematch. He is starting on the loser side, which means that he has to not beat King Alexander just once, but twice. Twice in 2 best of 5s. That is a tough feat, but it's been done before, and SJMC might be the one to do it again.
A crucial point I want to point out is, yes, S. James P lost 3-0, but there were some win conditions, I feel like, in those games. Game number 1, he had the Body Slam on Lickitung. I think he didn't believe he was going to endure the aerial ace. I heard the crowd was already clapping like the game was over, but the Lickitung endured an aerial ace, and it was only 1 lick away from a Body Slam. Maybe he gets it, but he didn't register that Body Slam. And in game number 3, I feel like there were some opportunities to win that game as well. So if you flip both those games, suddenly, instead of losing 3-0, you're up 2-1. So yes, it was a blowout, but the games were extremely close.
There were, and I think SJMC getting that 3-0 set against Nighttime Clasher is what he needs to get that confidence back. But let's hear it from SJMC and King Alexander on their thoughts for the grand finals.
Thank you so much, Caleb and Butters. I am here right now with our grand finalists for the 2024 season in Peoria. I have King Alexander and I have SJ. I am so excited to talk a little bit with these 2 trainers before our grand finals matchup. King Alex, I'm going to start with you. You've been to a couple tournaments, but this is your first breakthrough into day 2 Top Cut. So what do you credit to the success this time around?
Well, a big part of it's the shifts in the meta have been kind of good to me. I like a lot of neutral play, and a good friend of mine helped me build this team and set me up for a lot of success with that. And I think the practice from the other regionals also went a long way in kind of helping me keep my composure and play the way that I can play.
That's awesome. Thank you. Similar question to you, but this is your first official circuit tournament. What a way to come out onto the scene. What do you think about that? What do you credit that for?
I've played this game for a long time. I know I haven't done a regional before, but I've done a lot of grassroots stuff before, a lot of show 6, pick 3. Truthfully, I didn't prep as much as I would have liked for this tournament, but shout out to Inadequacy at an Open Grey League practice tourney I did, and then a couple of my friends helped me as well, so credit to them.
Sounds like you both got a lot of help from the community, which is awesome. It's what we love to see. Do you think you're going to keep competing after this? You got a taste. It went really well. Do you think you're going to keep going after this?
I want to. I don't know how many regionals I'll do, but when I found out I was in Hawaii, I really wanted to go. And I also wanted to see if I could win one of these tournaments. And I've never competed before, but I always thought I could do kind of well. So yeah.
I think you've done certainly at least kind of well today, SJ.
I'd say so, yeah.
Back over to you. You talked about the meta has been kind to you. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? I noticed on your team you've got the Frostlass, no steel types at all, and you've got that grass type coverage in Superior, as well as the power whip on the Lickitung. Is there anything else you want to talk about or touch on how you feel this meta has really benefited you?
I think a big part of it, like I was saying, was the safety of it. I think all of the picks, of course, I'm running, my team is the meta, so it doesn't get a whole lot more meta than that. But all of the picks have felt really good. You know, you can get into some of the bad matchups and you can still find a way to play out of it. And so while I don't necessarily have a lot of dominating matchups with this team, I feel like I can play myself out of any situation, and that's exactly what I want to be.
So what I'm hearing is you've got a lot of flexibility. You like the ability to be flexible in this meta.
Yes, exactly.
Would you tend to agree with that? Your team's kind of similar in that it doesn't have any steel types. You notably don't have a grass type at all. Your only grass type coverage comes from that Lickitung power whip. What is your take on the meta?
Well, after my matches with him, I haven't played too many Lanterns. I found out, well, I also kind of knew I was weak to Lantern, but yeah, that's like something that I always have to be aware of. Like he said too, I like to have flexible Pokemon to try to just like wiggle my way through games. I do a lot of switching, like my play style, I like to desync clocks and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say I play safe, but I like to have play with all my mons.
All right, sounds very good. Some very similar takes here from our two grand finalists. And now I want to see, is there anyone you like to thank? You mentioned the community. Is there any other specifics you want to thank for bringing you here today?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, my wife is incredibly supportive of me, you know, playing this game and doing what I love, and you know, I couldn't be here without her. And then of course my parents are incredibly kind and supportive, and one of my closest friends, I literally wouldn't have been able to make it to Peoria without him. So them, along with my entire community here in Pokemon Go that's gotten me to this point and supported me, I can't thank you enough, and this is just as much about you guys as it is about us, so thank you.
All right, and then same question to you. Who would you like to shout out?
I want to shout out Topetown. Everybody supported me back there. My faction team, Elite TMs, they've been very supportive throughout all this, and yeah, I think that's about it.
All right. Last thing is final words to each other. You just came off from a very dominant 3-0 victory as well in the winners finals. Do you have any last words for your opponent?
Oh yeah, I mean, he's an amazing battler. You're an amazing battler, SJ, and I know this is going to be a great series, and I'm looking forward to it no matter what. So good luck.
Yeah. And your last battle was also a 3-0 coming off of Nighttime Clasher.
Yeah.
Maybe have that a little bit of momentum back. Do you have any final words for your opponent here?
Obviously a very good player. He played very well. I thought maybe I could have done something different in game one, but he didn't make any mistakes at all. So I just gotta figure out something. I don't know. Hopefully he doesn't beat me too hard, but but yeah, I don't know.
All right, thank you both so much. Trainers out there, I'm sure you are excited to see how this grand finals rematch is going to play out. I'm gonna kick it back over to Caleb, to 2-0 Butters, and we're gonna let these battlers take the stage.
All right.
Thank you, DeFi, and it's great to hear from our grand finalists. You guys see the sportsmanship there, the respect they got for each other too, right? Even King Alexander, after the 3-0, still recognizing how tough opponent S. James P is, and he is definitely not going to let his foot off the gas pedal, because S. James P only needs a little bit of wiggle room for him to find the win conditions there.
And it's different now. It's all on the line. Usually in the past, we would do those winners interviews and everyone's relaxed because they both have qualified for Worlds. I mean, yes, they both wanted to, in the past, be the grand champion, get that travel package, but it's completely different now. Your entire trip to the Worlds is on the line. You can qualify today if you win the grand finals. Yes, even if you don't qualify today, you'll get a lot of championship points that you can still continue throughout the season. So this is a great start, but it's going to be an epic finals. And I want to point out that King Alexander was saying the meta was kind to him. I feel like the meta is kind to all the trainers out there because of that flexibility they were talking about. You're able to bounce around the battlefield and play a little bit differently than strategies of the past.
Yeah, I think King Alexander is probably being a little humble there as well, right? Like you said, I think the meta is kind to all of us, but not all of us are making it to the grand finals undefeated, right? I don't think I'd be in that position in any meta, but here we have King Alexander here and in one of his best tournament performance to date. Same for SJMC because it's his first ever tournament. Again, if you're at home, you're worried about competing, you're not sure how it's going to go for the first time, just do some practice battles, maybe do some practice tournaments, do some of that GBL, and just get your skills honed in because there's no way to find out how you perform unless you go to one of these tournaments. And we love seeing SJMP being at his first ever tournament, and in my opinion, definitely not his last.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I feel like some newcomers had so much success here in Peoria because of the difference of the meta. These more experienced trainers, I feel like a big advantage for those more experienced trainers are their team composition reads. Those experienced trainers set themselves apart from the competition from being used to be on stage, making the right reads, being able to get some alignment, making some crazy, nice ABA choices. But when those factors are a little bit lessened because of the fluidity of the meta, I feel like some newcomers have a chance to rise up because as we saw, SJ has been battling a lot in his Pokemon Go PvP career, and he was able to play this fluid play style and just make waves in his first ever tournament. And can he make waves in this grand finals matchup? Because that is the question. He said game number one he would want to do something a little bit differently, but he's gonna have to do a lot of things differently because he has to win this matchup to reset the bracket and then win the grand finals as well. It's gonna be a tough road for SJ here.
Does he find an answer to that Water Gun Lantern? That is going to be the big question. I think Nighttime Clash was onto something. He said Lantern is the best Pokemon in this meta. Well, specifically in this matchup, Water Gun Lantern does look like this best Pokemon in this head-to-head. SJP will have to find a way around it. He didn't bring Swampert into any of those games. Swampert's still taking neutral damage from the Surf and Water Gun. If you don't land the Earthquake, it can definitely spell trouble for the Swamperts. Gligar's also in a weird spot because the Water Gun Surf is actually super effective. Yes, you have super effective dig, but you're doing no damage with those wing attacks. Very little damage, I should say. Not no damage, but it looks like no damage. And so you have to rely on so many of these neutral matchups. That's why you saw SJC bring in that Lickitung, the Umbreon so many times, but you can't be super weak to Medicham at the same time, so you're forced to bring Frostlass, which unfortunately just loses to the Lantern. So King Alexander definitely has a team composition advantage, but a lot of really good players are able to find a way around it. SJMC is going to have to play really well to overcome King Alexander, not just once, but twice.
And these trainers are just about ready. But before we get into that, let's hear from you. So let's head over to social media to see what you all were. And is this, wow, this looks like a hand-knit plushie over here. That is impressive from JW Naldo, the first ever LAIC Grand Champion. That looks beautiful, and he won it with the Toxapex, right, Caleb?
He did, and he said Toxapex not enjoying this meta. Yeah, probably not, especially with the Gligar around, but hey, Water Gun Lantern is not as good into the Toxapex, so you have some play. Now, this Pokemon could be good, but the Superior Pre-Evolution, third expert watching play Pokemon Peoria Regionals this season will be 100% be the first legend. So shout out to Wonder2 on their climb, doing some GBL at home while watching how to get better while watching these regionals.
Yeah, and Superior is definitely good in this meta, and we do see it on the grand finalist team. The person who is on the winner side of this grand finals, King Alexander. I believe these trainers are ready on stage, but make sure it's hashtag Play Pokemon on X if you want to be featured on stream. We'd love to hear from you. But for now, we're about to get into the grand finals. So let's head on over to the stage. It's a matchup between King Alexander and SJ.
And we know these trainers well, too. You can see King Alexander, biggest accomplishment so far is top 8 in Peoria Regional. We gotta update that. That's gotta say Peoria finalist at the very least. And running the Frostlass, the Water Gun Lantern, Medicham, Superior, Gligar, and Lickitung.
Like he said, the top 5 in usage for day number 1, and then just plug in Frostlass as your signature pick. Let's quickly look at SJ's team as well. And he needs to be a grand finalist too, because he is in these grand finals. First ever play Pokemon tournament. What an awesome run. And Gligar, we really haven't seen that much. I mean, at least when we've been casting, we haven't seen much Shadow Gligar as well. Can that be a factor in this series against that Water Gun Lantern? And then those two bulky Pokemon, the Umbreon and Lickitung, which we've seen heavily featured from SJ in these matchups.
Yeah, I like to call that the Lyle Jeff special, the one that helped him carry to that second place finish in Pittsburgh, running two of the bulkier Pokemon. I don't think we see Gligar. There's Water Gun Lantern and a Frost Ice on the side of King Alexander. I just don't think it's worth running that risk. And here we go. Game number 1 of the Grand Finals is going to be that Water Gun Lantern into Lickitung.
This is perfect though, because yes, Water Gun Lantern, it's so strong. It can win the one Protect Shield situation if you properly Protect Shield the Power Whip. So will the Power Whip come out straight away, or the bait trying to catch on the Power Up into your own Lickitung? Do you just you banked a ton of energy, now you're back to Umbreon.
I like this bait play from King Alexander though. You bait out the Umbreon so that your Frost Ice is more free in the backline matchups. Yes, you still have to deal with the Lickitung, but Lickitung is not nearly as strong of a matchup into Frost Ice as Umbreon is.
Yeah, and now the Umbreon has the opportunity to bank up a ton. I think in this situation, especially when, you know, S. James, one thing I know is he always likes to get to that full energy, just really play up to that line in terms of getting the full tank there before he throws. I think that's actually a great strategy down the line because the timers will get back up. You don't ever want to leave your Umbreon energy dry.
Yeah, S. James loves to play around 100 energy or nothing else. And here we go, throwing more foul play at this Lickitung. Yes, a very strong matchup for S. James P, but does he realize that there's a Frost Ice in the back? We didn't really see Frost Ice a lot from King Alexander in that Winner's Finals. I don't even know if he brought it once or not, but surprising the pick here on in this first game of the Grand Finals might take S. James a little off guard. And the real question is, who's Frost Ice going to charge priority?
Going for the last resort here, thinking that foul play isn't going to be enough. I don't think last resort's going to be enough either. I don't think you're going to be able to snarl down. You're not even close to being able to snarl down. So how do you finish off this Lickitung? Suddenly, you were in such an advantageous position being able to match up against this Lickitung, but now the Lickitung's almost going to be able to knock out the Umbreon. Maybe you swap into your own Frost Blast, get a little energy advantage, but no, looks like he's swapping into his own Lickitung, but he is energy capped. He's going to go for the lick down, a little greedy there from SJ.
Like I said, S. James loves to have 100 energy or nothing else. Leaving with the foul play, I think it's going to be crucial because in case there is that Frost Ice in the back, it can be useful. I think he made a great prediction. But having 2 Power Whips already for this Frost Ice, this is actually going to be a really tough position for King Alexander. However, Water Gun Lantern was trusty in the first series. I think it might be good here too.
And remember, King Alexander is switch locked now. Here comes the Power Whip, not a bait. Maybe King Alexander tries to call a big bait here and see if he no protect shows. No, actually calls the Power Whip. That's huge because now you don't waste an avalanche worth of energy, but the Power Whip is getting close to available once again. I feel like S. James is so powerful with this Lickitung, he might just invest because no, he actually doesn't invest. Lets the Lickitung go. It's going to be tough to Powder Snow down with your Frostlass.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. You could throw the foul play right away to get rid of the Frost Blast. No, actually going to come in with the Frost Blast instead. This is really dangerous for SJC. He has to potentially shield the Shadow Ball. Instantly throws the shield up there. But now King Alexander is on shield parity versus this Frost Blast. Frost Blast does have quite a bit of energy.
Oh, swapping into the Lantern.
Look how much energy is on this Lantern.
Yeah, a lot of energy on the Lantern. Just 1 Protect Shield remaining, but with this energy advantage, Lantern is really ahead here. Both these trainers do have a Pokemon in the back. In King Alexander's case, 2 Pokemon in the back if you want to try to swap later if you get back to your timer. Does S. James have a foul play banked? I believe he does. So he could use that. Maybe he could start going.
Oh, it doesn't shield the
Thunderbolt.
thing is the
That is tough.
That's a huge call from King Alexander to not bait there. And now I think he's going to go straight for fast moves only. I don't think he gets it 2 moves. Shadow Ball's not enough, but it's going to put the Lantern quite low. It's in foul play range, and here comes the foul play.
This is really, really close. I don't know if this will knock out. It's going to be a game of inches, and it wasn't enough. It was 1 inch too short, but he gets the snarl down. How much? There's no health on anything, but a Powder Snow will register first, and the Powder Snow does knock out that Umbreon, and it's all fast attacks all the time. Wiz Frost Blast will knock out with Powder Snow, and it's King Alexander!
Wow, what a play there too. It was that Thunderbolt that was absolutely critical for King Alexander. Landing that allowed him to go straight fast swing damage afterward. SJP was making the prediction he was going for a surf, and you don't want to shield a surf because then you just get knocked out by the next Thunderbolt. So S-James made the gamble, but King Alexander predicting S-James-P's prediction. And you can see right here, the foul play was not enough. Just getting even just 1 or 2 more water gun here was critical. Actually, I think it was 3, actually, because equaling the Snarl. And now, like you said, 2-turn Powder Snow taking priority over the 3-turn Snarl, getting nothing out of that Snarl damage, and then there's the fast move down. I mean, even if S-James took out that Frost Blast, you still had the 1-turn Lickitung on the back. I think it would have been enough for King Alexander.
Talk about a flexible meta. Both these trainers are saying how they love how flexible it was. In 3 Pokemon remaining for fast attacks down to race. And now it has been the story of Peoria. Day 1 and day number 2. It's going to be a Frostlass mirror, and it might come down to which trainer wins charge attack priority. No, trying to swap on the Shadow Ball, but the patience from King Alexander now swapping into his own Medicham. But remember, this is the Psychic Medicham, so Umbreon has play here.
But King Alexander does not need switch fans. You have a Frostlass with more energy than SJP's Frostlass, and then you have that Water Gun Lantern, and Frostlass and Lantern have so much play into the Swampert. S-James did go for the risky call of trying to catch a Shadow Ball or Avalanche Baits. It did not pan out though, and King Alexander is trying to reap the benefits of that.
Yeah, there's nowhere to soak that energy. It's either super effective Shadow Balls into the Frostlass or hard-hitting Avalanches and Shadow Balls into the Swampert. At least it's not a Shadow Swampert. Here comes the last resort.
Yeah,
actually,
Butters, I'm a little confused here too, because I think Foul Play is a little bit more energy efficient, but SJC throwing the more damaging move, instead going straight for the last resort.
I think he's going double last resort here. I think he was thinking...
No, that was the second one. This is about to be triple last resort.
Oh yeah, triple last resort. He's going triple last resort. Just going full last resort in this matchup. He gets 1 more Snarl in. In this last resort, it's going to be enough. But like you mentioned, alignment doesn't matter. This is the flexible meta. You would rather soft lose a matchup. So you can come in and fast attack down. You can get Water Guns. You can get Powder Snows. Instant pivot in the Swampert. No, can't even pivot in the time. But at least you get to keep your timer.
Yeah, sure, you can keep the timer for sure, but these Avalanche are going to start hurting the Swampert, and the thing is, you won the Swampert for the Lantern, and the Lantern's now free against the Frostlass. Maybe you got to try to catch
up on an Avalanche, try to get the Avalanche, and actually through the Avalanche, couldn't swap on it. Now it had to give up the Protect Shield, and this spells a lot of trouble for SJ here. Has Frostlass in the back to meet that Water Gun Lantern. I don't even think this knocks out. This with not the Shadow Swampert, I think the Frostlass will endure, and there is the Protect Shield though.
Okay, I don't hate this Protect Shield from King Alexander. You have some residual energy. You know the opposing Frostlass has to throw a Shadow Ball to take this out. SJP is in such a tough position. You don't want to give up the shield because then you just get Shadow Ball, but does give up the shield.
And here comes the last Protect Shield of the game from SJ, and just letting it go for King Alexander. The Frostlass comes down. Can this Swampert even get to a Hydro Cannon? It doesn't even knock out the Frostlass, and now swapping into the Frostlass has that Shadow Ball available. You're going to need to land a Shadow Ball, maybe even get a Protect Shield on an Avalanche, and the call by King Alexander.
King Alexander is dialed in, and so is this fish, because this Lantern is wreaking havoc on the team of SJP. How do you take out this Lantern? I have no idea. Either such a tough matchup, and King Alexander is going to knock out the Frostlass, and there's only a sliver of health left on this Swampert.
And the Thunderbolt knocks out, and the Water Gun is going to finish off this Swampert. S-James didn't even throw a charge attack, knowing this one was over, and King Alexander has now won 5 straight battles versus SJ. He is 1 game from securing the Grand Championship in Peoria. Can King Alexander hold on here to finish this off? S-James needs a miracle. And how do you get that miracle? I feel like in that lead scenario, that's what you want. You got the Frostlass into Frostlass, and how about those last resorts going straight last resort, which was pretty interesting. You don't see it as much, and Frostlass just in every battle right now, Caleb.
Frostlass and Lantern too. That Lantern is wreaking havoc. I don't remember the last time we ever seen a Frostlass mirror matchup in Grand Finals. This might be the only time we've ever seen 2 Frostlass in the same exact Grand Finals. I mean, you said S. James needs a miracle. I think he needs 6 miracles at this point, too. This is so tough. And this is not a knock on S. James' skill level, because you know he's such a talented trainer, but that water gun lantern is such a core breaker. It's a team breaker for King Alexander.
And that's why Grass is back. Grass is back literally to stop that lantern from being such a threat. It's the only way to stop the lantern because there aren't that many viable dragon types out there anymore. Altaria's not as good, so SJ doesn't have a grass type, and he needs a victory here to hold on. Or can King Alexander win this battle, become the grand champion? He's got a decent lead, swap out into the Lickitung, and no clear answer, so just gonna stay in with the Medicham.
King Alexander is so dialed in right now. I think he knows exactly what's in the back. He knows that there's that Frost that's in the back. There's no way S. James brings Gligar. So he's going just for a chip and then the dip, and then now he's just maintaining the switch advantage. How does S. James overcome this matchup?
It's going to be with that flexible play that he mentioned and King Alexander mentioned, but it's not going to come down to alignment. It's going to be able, the opportunity to find windows for advantage is the only way S. James can come back here, because he's not going to win it with alignment with Water Gun Lantern in the Frost Slice. He needs to find the opportunity to get a runway, to get an energy advantage, to get some momentum in this battle, and it's going to be tough to do in a Lickitung mirror.
This is so tough for S. James. You know, you can see him just like scratching his head before this matchup, thinking, how do I overcome this team composition disadvantage? That Water Gun Lantern is a threat, and now King Alexander has the alignment on top of the team composition.
And swap into the Umbreon, trying to catch a body slam, and actually gets a full snarl through, so that's a little advantage, a little momentum for SJ here, and probably here comes the Medicham straight away. The Medicham has taken some damage here, and Umbreon does have extra energy, so you can win this matchup, but like I mentioned, do you even want to win any matchups? I don't think you do. I think you want to soft lose every single matchup so you can get a runway for your Frost Blast, so you can Powder Snow down to get that energy advantage you desperately need.
King Alexander knows exactly what's in the back, and honestly, I think S. James knows what's in the back on King Alexander's side. You're right, you don't need switch advantage. King Alexander doesn't need switch advantage. You just need to take out this Umbreon, which is the counter to your Lickitung, and then now you're set for that Frost that's in the back. And the Lickitung on S. James' side already low too, going for a last resort to do a little bit more damage. But like you said, Butters, I don't think King Alexander needs to win this matchup. You can see—
Oh, he paused. He paused, maybe thinking the timer would be back up and he could swap on an Ice Punch into his Frost Blast, but the timer wasn't up in time. So now this Ice Punch is undercharged. Swap out of there, get out of there, get that energy advantage. There's one Powder Snow. He got one of them, but he's gonna be able, he's gonna need the bait. He's gonna need to get back to his timer and then throw a foul play. The odds are against SJ, but it's not over yet.
King Alexander's shield calls have been impeccable in day number 2. Can he call again?
Call it? Oh, he almost did it.
He does shield the avalanche, so that is a little sigh of relief for SJ. But look at the water gun damage adding up so quickly. Do you even have enough time to get to 2 avalanche and another Shadow Ball? But the Shadow Ball's not even enough to knock out.
And remember, I think the Lickitung does have a Body Slam banked, so if you get both of the Protect Shields, you can even throw a Body Slam into this Frost Blast. Yes, it's double resisted, but it's a little bit of damage as the Shadow Ball is going to be landing into the Lantern, and it's just getting so low. You're at the next surf here. The Frost Blast is energy dry, but luckily you're almost back at your timer, so you get this Protect Shield and you're back at your timer. Can you combo play? Can you combo play with the foul play? Does SJ go for it?
Is the timer up is the question. The timer is
He
up.
goes for it. He goes for it, and he gets it.
Umbreon.
He gets it.
I don't think this is enough to knock out.
It's
so
so
King
close.
Alexander a little surprised though.
Yeah.
The combo play. This is S. James' last hope. Not enough. Does it survive the snarl? It does. It gets a full water gun
but
down.
it's at 1 health, 1 lick, 1 lick. He doesn't go for the lick. Instead, he swaps into Lickitung, and now the 1 lick won't matter because the Lickitung has a Body Slam, and King Alexander, there is 1 protection remaining, but SJ lets it go, and King Alexander will be your Peoria Grand Champion.
King Alexander powering through 3-0 in Winners Finals, 3-0 in the Grand Finals. He is the king of Peoria and is going to win it all.
How about that swap here? I want to point out, if he stayed in with that Lantern with double surf and SJ came in with the Lickitung, 1 lick probably would have taken out that Lantern. So a brilliant swap and a brilliant run and 6 straight victories versus SJ to meet Wadaj as the only grand champions for North America this season.
Instant invitation to World Championships in Honolulu. We are excited to see King Alexander there. A lot of people probably didn't even know about him before this regional, but there's no way you won't know about him after this one. He played impeccable this entire weekend. 3-0 in 2 back-to-back best of fives is no easy feat, but King Alexander recognized the team composition he had and just took advantage of it at every turn of the way.
And let's take a look at the blueprint. This is the hard meta team with the Frostlass as the signature pick. Can this be the team of the Adventures Abound season? King Alexander is making it look like that in, wow, able to get that snarl down, but this was the race. This was the fast attack. This is the flexible meta of Adventures Abound. It's just all these Pokemon that have swapped out because you don't care about alignment, and they're all 1 health going at it with fast attacks.
Yeah, and look at this second game too. Just Frostlass wreaking havoc, and then again, Water Gun Lantern though was the MVP for King Alexander. This is why you got Superior. This is why you got Venusaur. This is why you need Grass, because if you don't, this fish is going to cause havoc.
Nighttime Clasher called Lantern the best Pokemon in Open Great League.
He was right.
And I was shocked a little bit, just like that Frostlass was, but it's so strong still. It was amazing at the World Championships, which I thought was the strongest Pokemon, but Grass is back. Unfortunately, S. James didn't have that Grass on his team, but I love how these in-games are coming down to the wire. All these trainers are swapping out at 1 health Pokemon because 1, they want to save it for a swap later. 2, they want to deny the fast attack, the runway, the momentum of the opponent to get that extra energy. So it's just beautiful to watch this fluid meta, and then the in-games can get kind of ridiculous when there's 5 to 6 Pokemon left with all about 3% health.
Yeah, that was pretty much the entire Grand Finals and Winners Finals. King Alexander had 2 back-to-back serves loaded on Lantern, didn't even throw a single one of them in that final game. But we got to give a shout out to S. James P. What a run. First tournament ever, getting 2nd place. And there's no way he's not hungry for more, especially after this one. He tried to put it to test, see if he could stand up against the competition, and I think he did make that point.
He absolutely did. And one point I think has been made clearly is I think we have a general meta for this season. I mean, I felt like it's been up in the air, but it takes a moment like this to show the blueprint of what can work. It's those top 5 Pokemon that are so strong and so flexible. They all have counterplay in between each other, so you can move around the battlefield. And then one of the best core breakers right now is Frostlass. What a team composition strategy from King Alexander, and it led to just an absolutely dominant performance.
It was a great read from both trainers, actually, too. Not just King Alexander, S. James P., who also relied on the Frostlass to get to this point. A great counter to that Dynamic Punch Medicham, more flexible into Powder Snow, Alolan Sandslash, and then Lickitung as well, being the bulkier Pokemon choice over Umbreon, has more play into Lickitung on top of that. And, you know, even Registeel is not too bad, but I don't even remember the last time we saw Registeel, to be honest. So that's not even a problem to worry about. So Frostlass is definitely the strongest Pokemon and the pick to win it in Peoria. Shout out to Speedy Sheev and DeFi who made that prediction. Great read by them. Don't listen to us. We don't know what we're talking about. We're talking about Charge Bug, and I don't even know what I said. I did put the Lantern on my pick, so I just did that. But
yeah, you did
kind
put
of meta, but kind of meta. But I put Pelipper as well. No triple back-to-back winners for Pelipper there. This time it's going to be Frostlass.
But we know in North America, we're a little late on our trends. When you see trends in Europe.
Hey, now. Shout out to Out of Pocket running on the trend of Superior. He was definitely ahead of the curve on that one, I guess.
For sure. That's a great point. It is technically a hard meta pick now because it's top 5 in usage, but he was the one that brought it, and everyone was loving that Superior pick. So definitely for the meta picks, NA's up there. We're ahead of the curve. But for those signature off-meta spicy picks, you know, sometimes we bring them down the road once the meta has formed a little bit and then dominate with them like what Dodge did in Rise to Occasion. So it's just awesome to see the meta develop in North America, in Europe, in the Latin region as well. It's been so amazing in this Adventures Abound season. Real quick, I want to ask you, is there any other standout Pokemon in this day number 2? I know Frostlass is top of the list. Was there anything else that stood out to you?
So I think Dynamic Punch Medicham stood out overall, right? I think it had a lot of play throughout, but it looked like meta and safer Pokemon like the Psychic Medicham were the choices to prevail, right? We saw both teams in the grand finals pretty safe, right? You got Lickitung, you got Umbreon, you got Frostlass, you got that Lantern, you got Medicham, both with Psychic, right? And I think the safety and flexibility of these Pokemon were really what did it for these two in the grand finals. Because if you have that flexibility, like you said, Butters, in that grand finals, you don't really need the alignment as much. You're able to dance around these Pokemon and just constantly swap in and out with low HP until, you know, finally someone just runs out of Pokemon.
And that's where it's really fun, to be honest, because there's so many possibilities. As soon as you have so many factors in the in-game 5 to 6 Pokemon with low health, maybe close to a charge attack, the amount of possibilities just multiplies exponentially, right? Because when you have alignment, it's stagnant, it's one matchup, another matchup. It's a little bit easier to predict, but when it gets all jumbled, you have to play those situations perfectly. And let's see how these usage jumbled up, because Reggie's gone.
there was, I think, one Registeel. I think
yeah.
Uzoukwu was the one person that brought Registeel.
Yeah.
No Azumarill, at least in top 8 at all. I don't remember. I think we saw one Hydro Pump Azumarill on day 1. That's about it.
Yeah, not a lot of bunnies in Peoria,
No.
but there was definitely a lot of Umbreon. Umbreon was a huge factor,
Yes.
I would say, because
on
Umbreon,
1/4 of the teams.
Yeah, Umbreon is really strong against Lickitung, obviously, but it has played against Medicham too, and it's just so neutral against everything. Like, look at this top 6 for day number 2.
Yeah, there were pretty no fairy types outside the Carbink, right?
Wait,
and then barely any steel types.
I said top 6. Look at the top 12.
Top 12, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Where's an Umbreon counter? I mean, a dynamic punch Medicham, right?
100% usage, yeah.
Yeah.
There. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it's super safe, and with Lickitung being so common, and now maybe even Frostlass, Umbreon might be the pick. And honestly, Umbreon, not the most expensive Pokemon to build. So if you're just getting into Pokemon Go PvP, go get yourself an Eevee, go build yourself an Umbreon. It is strong, it is cheap, and it's effective.
It is really good. And one thing that I thought would be strong was Mandibuzz. It's very similar to Umbreon, but as this tournament has gone on and as the season has gone on, I've realized that flying type subtyping, where I thought maybe it was an advantage because you're taking neutral from counter from Medicham, and then also you can soak grass damage. Like from a superior, all it can do is throw aerial aces, and you can be better against those grass types. But the more I think about it, I think that subtyping of flying is a weakness compared to his strength. And I think Umbreon is just stronger because it only has that dark typing.
Yeah, I'm glad to agree with you there. And I think Mandibuzz also not nearly as bulky as Umbreon. And if it is, it doesn't feel like it. But I've run Mandibuzz in a local tournament, and it just did not do what I thought it would, right? Medicham be able to beat it in the 1s and 2 shields, and especially if you're up shields or up energy, it is such an uncomfortable matchup. A lot of players running for that Snarl because it's better for that charge move pressure. But, you know, maybe someone in Sacramento will prove us wrong, Butters. We're proven wrong all the time, right? I feel like we're on a different hype chain every few hours, right? But it looks like these trainers that are really putting their stamp in the history books for Pokemon Go are ones to really prove what works and what doesn't.
We're always on a lot of bandwagons, and you know, we have one exciting new feature to these regional streams. We got an award ceremony. So let's take it over to the stage with Speediest Chief 2.
All right, trainers, welcome in. It's been an incredible weekend here in Peoria, Illinois. It's been such an exciting tournament. We have some awards to give out. First, our runner-up, SJ. Let's hear it in the crowd. SJ, congratulations. All right, SJ, we'll keep this pretty short. I just wanted to ask you, you have a lot of support in the grassroots community. A lot of trainers like yourself are so talented, so good at Pokemon Go PvP. If you were to speak to them and tell them to come to a Championship Series event, what would you say?
I mean, like I said before, this is my first one. I had a blast. I didn't really have a whole lot of expectations going into this. But if you go to one, I'm sure you'll enjoy it. So.
Absolutely. Well, the community's all here, right? There's a lot of support for you in the crowd here. I just want to ask you one more question. Jay, what's next for you? Are you going to go to another regional? People want to see more of SJP.
I don't have set plans yet, but I'll probably do at least one more regional. Yeah.
All right, SJ. Well, best of luck. Looking forward to see you play some more.
All right.
Absolutely. You'll be there? All right. Now, that being said, last year's Peoria Grand Finals had 15 games. This one was just 6 games long. Sweep after sweep after sweep. Break out the brooms and the cheers. Your Peoria Regional Champion, King Alexander. Congratulations, King. You got a trophy there for you.
Thank you very much again. Thank you so much.
All right, King Alexander, I've got a lot of questions, but I have to narrow it down a little bit, all right? So you've had some previous tournament experiences. You said that it helped you a lot to prepare for this one. What changed? Because you are absolutely on fire this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just been some continued practice that I've been able to get. You know, I do a lot of battles. I've got some amazing teammates out there with the Decisive Dynasty. And every time I lose, I think it's really important to self-reflect and look back at those losses. And I've got some amazing people in my community that when I can't find what I did wrong, they'll help me and make sure I see it. And every time you see what you did wrong, you keep getting better and better. And it's just helped me get to where I am.
Exactly. It's really important to be open to that constructive criticism, right? Your friends can see things that you can't, and that kind of feedback is always really important. Something I noticed about your gameplay is that your knowledge of the counts and ability to tie charge attack priority, I've never seen anything like it. Tell us about that. How can trainers better count the fast attacks from their opponents?
So I mean, with one-turn fast attacks, it's usually just counting your own moves. It's really hard to see every single water gun or lick that goes out there. But a lot of it comes with experience too, right? You see these matchups over and over again, so you get a really good understanding of kind of what's coming and when it's coming, and you just get used to it. So the more practice you get, the better you'll be, the more comfortable you'll get in these situations.
All right, well, I asked SJ what's next for him. For you, Honolulu, Hawaii, the World Championships. Tell us how excited you are to qualify for Worlds and to get out there and do your very best.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thrilled. Coming here, I kind of told myself, all right, let's just get one win and we'll be happy with the day. You know, it'll be a success. It'll be a warm-up regionals if you will. And then the wins just kept coming, and I kept just trying to take it one step at a time, and I'm over the moon. You know, I never saw myself getting all the way here, and here we are, so I couldn't be happier.
Well, enjoy it, champ. You earned it. I want to give you just one final shout out. Any people you want to thank, any final words for those watching at home or here in the arena?
Yeah, I mean, once again, thank you to my lovely wife and my parents for fully supporting me. My fantastic friend who allowed me to get here. I wouldn't have been able to even make it to Peoria if it wasn't without him and all of his kindness and support. And like I said, my community and my teammates that have helped me grow into the battler that I am. Thank you all so much. You know, I couldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you, so thank you.
Awesome, King. Well, you had an incredible tournament experience. Congratulations one more time. We can't wait to see what you do next. And that being said, I think we're going to toss over to the lounge for a wrap-up. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned.
Thank you so much, Will, and congratulations again to our Peoria champion, King Alexander. I am here with Caleb and Butters to close out the day. Gentlemen, what did you think? This was a jam-packed tournament, super exciting. Tell me your thoughts, Caleb.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you probably love this too. Frostlass making a comeback here in the tournaments. I think, like I said during the broadcast, the first time ever we even seen two Frostlass in the grand finals, and it looks so good in this meta. We were talking about Dynamic Punch Medicham for the past month, but it looks like Frostlass is here to counter all that action.
I absolutely love the tournament. I've said it before, I'm gonna keep saying it. This is the best meta ever in Pokemon Go history, and I have to agree with Caleb. What a call by Defy and Speedius to call Frostlass as #1 in their caster predictions. I don't think there's ever been a better caster predictions because Frostlass was a factor the entire day #1 and 2 and was in the grand finals. It looks like Frostlass is not just a signature pick, a spicy pick. It's here to stay. And how do you deal with the pew pew lantern of that water gun in Frostlass core? There's Lickitungs and Medichams everywhere and you still can't deal with it.
My goodness, I think I remember saying, like, can I pick Frostlass 4 times? Can I pick 4 Frostlass for my top pick? So very exciting to see. Let's take a look at these trainers in the bracket who took advantage of the meta here today. You can see King Alexander's run through the winner side of the bracket, defeating Nighttime Clasher, and then sweeping through S. James P. not once, but twice to claim that championship.
Absolutely dominant from King Alexander. The only loss he took in day #2 was the Nighttime Clasher, and then he went 6-0 to finish out this tournament. Unbelievable. You know, it's also unbelievable, Caleb, this loser's bracket was stacked.
It was absolutely stacked. We have at least 3 previous Worlds competitors make it to that losers bracket, to Kimmy Sweet and Rise Vacation and Teddy Bear eventually joining. But we have so many new faces in this top cut as well. Uzoukwu and then RockHaven as well. We love to see these new faces on board. And here are the teams. Medicham, Lickitung, everywhere except for on Kimmy Sweet's team. But the most important one is that Frostlass in that 1 and 2 spot.
I also just want to echo what you said, Caleb. We have some seasoned veterans here who've hit the stage time and time again, and we have new faces. I'm excited to see what's next for S. James. I want to see what's next for Uzoukwu, the people that we haven't seen as much before. I want to see where they go next on their road to Worlds.
Really, the possibilities are endless. Look how far we've come. The meta is open. You can bring so many picks. Even the competition is open. You've seen these trainers make first-time appearances or only have appeared a single time before, have these dominant performances. SJ, first performance ever in Play Pokemon, able to get this far. I think you have to attribute it to this fresh meta. It's such an open meta for flexibility. So when you're able to be flexible, I feel like these trainers who are new can learn and hone their skills and take it to the main stage and take that first step to the road to Worlds.
Yeah. Very good. Let's take a closer look at our winners. Let's go ahead and Caleb, talk to us a little bit about. We've got King Alexander on the left, and then we have S. James P, and then we have Nighttime Clasher.
Yeah, we got 2 faces we don't see very often: King Alexander and then S. James P. Like he said, first ever tournament, and then you see Nighttime Clasher, his highest finish so far. Again, a great testament of perseverance and consistency. If you put in the time and effort, you can be in this top 3 as well. His first ever appearance was in Arlington almost a year ago. Bring that token tomorrow, and he's only gotten better ever since. You know, Levi, you said, I want to see how some of these trainers come back to these tournaments, see their faces again. I want to see you at home at these tournaments too, especially if we've never seen you at these tournaments. The first timers can definitely put in a lot of work too.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Something I also said pretty well, I think, was the Frostlass pick at my #1. Speediest Chief agreed with me. Butters, what else do you think of some of these caster predictions?
You know, Charger Bug was good. It had promise. In the end, it was not that strong. What I think of these caster predictions, there's only one glaring example. You and Speediest picked Frostlass at #1. But of course, we picked our safe picks, like the Superior, like the Lantern. But how about the Pelipper? We thought maybe Pelipper would make waves in North America, Caleb. It didn't really make any waves here.
No, but I got that fish on my squad, so I'm happy with it. Lantern at #2. The only person to pick Lantern, it might be Meta, but Meta is Meta for a reason. We talked about Spark changing and stuff. It didn't get a buff, didn't make Lantern weaker, but let's not forget, Water Gun Lantern is a staple, especially of Season 2, and it looks like it's going to be a staple of Season 3 of Play Pokemon.
Yes, and like Caleb said, we want to see you out there here in this season of Play Pokemon. Let's take another quick look at the season schedule. We're here in Peoria. Now we're going to be going to Sacramento next weekend. Then bringing it all together will be in Lille over in Europe. Toronto this month is packed with tournaments. Get yourself an opportunity to get out there, especially next weekend.
Yeah, the road to Worlds has just begun for this season. There's so many amazing events. Come to the events. There's all the PvP Pokemon appearing at these events that you will need. And you've seen some other trainers like Tihi Risa just start the game 4 months ago and make it all the way to a winner's finals. You can do it too. And of course, the next event will be next weekend in just 5 days or 6 days from now on Saturday in Sacramento.
Yeah, not even a week away. Definitely show what you got West Coast, or if you're from anywhere else in the world, go on and fly over to Sacramento and see what it's all about. I know our defending world champion, Axon, will be making an appearance there.
Yes, and if you're over in Europe on the other side of the ocean, you have an event coming up too. The Lille Regional is coming up October 21st to 22nd. So there are events all over the world. So be sure to pick your path, find your way on that road to Worlds.
What an amazing tournament. There's a blueprint now, I feel like, for the meta. So this is a big moment to start this season because King Alexander, I feel like, put out the script. You can run those 5 meta picks and just run them in a flexible manner, jump around the arena, plug in a Frost Slash, and you can have a shot. It was just an amazing run, and I'm excited that now we kind of have this blueprint of a meta, but it's still wide open, so couldn't be in a better place.
And I want to know what trainers out there think. What was your favorite moment of the Peoria Regional Championships? Are you going to these upcoming ones? Let us know on social with the hashtag #PlayPokemon, @PlayPokemon, out there on social media on X, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
And shout out to everyone tuning in, the production crew, the judges, and the players who put themselves out there and try to compete on the big stage. It does take a lot of courage, but I believe you can do it as well, and we hope to see you at a future regional.
That is it for us here in Peoria. We will see everybody out there next weekend in Sacramento. Be sure to not miss it. Thank you, trainers, and have a great day.